Welcome back to Why Blank Lost. I'm David Bloomberg, and now that I'm done dodging tornadoes, we are here to do our regular Why Blank Lost. With me, as always, is my co-host Jessica Lewis. And if you're
Hi,
watching,
everyone.
yes, and if you're watching this as a video, you already see that there's another surprise special guest joining us, the Survivor 43 runner-up, Cassidy Clark. Welcome,
Yay!
Cassidy.
We'll do a round of applause.
Thank you so much. I am very excited to be here. Probably more than I should be, but I just
No, you should definitely be.
I have love for y'all's podcast, and I just am so. It's just crazy to be full circle here because I remember when I was listening and preparing to play that I was imagining. I was like, one day I'm gonna take Tiffany's spot on there. I'm hopping on that, you know. And I remember like I just love y'all's energy so much, and I was like, I would love to like play a good enough game to where I could maybe one day get on here and talk to them. So I was like, I at least have to get to Tiffany's spot, or like, yeah, and then I'll be able to get up. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, we are very happy that you have joined us. I feel like it was a long time coming because I do believe that, as indicated, you are a fan, and so now we have an opportunity to actually all enjoy each other's company instead of just talking about you. We can talk with you about the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So regular listeners know we don't usually have guests. So you have to be pretty special to get on here.
Oh my God, you're making me blush.
Okay, Franny.
Oh yeah. Right.
So you started to talk about it already, but why are you here? What makes you special?
Well, I like you guys. I love you guys.
Aw, that's a great start. Okay,
yeah,
we're
good.
Thank
Start,
you.
yeah.
I aim to please. So I actually, what's kind of weird is I'm trying to think back. My memory can be slightly terrible sometimes, but I'm thinking back to when I started watching any podcast. I think Rob's was the first that I had discovered, and I'm like, wait, that was like 2021. Like it wasn't that long ago that I had started listening, but it feels like forever because I've listened to so many since then. But I think like after I got, supposed to play 41 and I got taken off, I was trying to get back on for 43, and I was like, it was before I even had like auditions were even in play or anything. It was maybe like right as 41 started. I was like, I didn't have the courage to watch it at first, but like maybe a few weeks, and I was like, I need to get in a better place so that whenever the audition times do come around, I can like fight for my spot back, and I'll do it with good energy, with a good headspace, and I'll be prepared to play if the time comes. So I started just digging more into 41, just trying to get back into that game mode that I used to be in when I watched previously, but even more so because like, there was a chance that I was actually going to play. So I started looking at podcasts, whatever, and I discovered Rob's, and I then shortly after discovered y'all's, and I enjoyed all of them, but like there was just something about the two of you, your energy together, like it was like, it's like Rob's, but like a little slightly unhinged sometimes, which I love that energy. So
that's all David. He's the unhinged one.
Yeah.
I love, both of y'all's humor, like I just totally get, and it was just so much fun. It was such a fun, like, podcast, and then lots of great information too, and totally agree with like all of the rules. Those are such important things to keep in mind, and it's cool to like because it's how good players play, but it's also good to see why players didn't win, like why did they lose, and you can avoid those pitfalls and mistakes. And so I just loved y'all's podcast. Like, to be honest, like I think y'all's I think y'all's was definitely my favorite. Just I want to hurt Rob's heart.
You can admit it, it's fine.
But I just remember I worked at when I had a part-time job, I was able to like kind of listen to like my headphones a little bit during the day, and so I put my headphones in, and I would just like listen to y'all's podcast. Like I would listen to old episodes. I would just always
that's great.
In my head. Literally in my head for months.
I love this.
Playing. So I love this. I'm going to be on there. I have to do well enough to at least to earn my spot. So it feels very full circle coming back here, and I'm like very excited. I probably won't be
congratulations for coming full circle.
I'll do my best. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We're going to turn that into a commercial.
I know. I'm like sitting here thinking,
I talk a lot.
Players. This is what you need to be listening to.
That's
right. Here.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I'm not getting paid for this. There's not a gun being held to my head right now.
Blink twice if you're okay.
I'm not
So some players have even been known to like sneak the rules into Ponderosa. Anybody on your season do that?
Wasn't me. After I heard Voce, I put it in a textbook. I definitely didn't try the same thing. No, and I honestly like I understood the rules like as somebody who's watched the game since I was a little kid. I feel like fundamentally I understood the game. And when your rules came out, it was that guideline. It was that extra. I mean, look, I printed the whole thing. It was pretty long.
Yeah. It is, right?
But I loved it. I like poured through all of it. I like studied on the plane. And it was really good information. And I feel like I also feel like fundamentally I understood and I connected and related to like all the things you were saying. I was like, that's so true. That's amazing. Yes. Yeah. I did that way in my mind, but it's so good to see it laid out in this like very descriptive and like distinct way that makes sense. And so, yeah, it was like definitely such a good little guidebook that I brought with me.
That's
fantastic. I remember like when we were at Ponderosa, I was like trying not to let people see what I was looking at. So I would bring, I can't remember, I'd bring something else so I could like hide what I was actually looking at inside, which was like stuff like that, like just different printouts and things. And
look at you, David Bloomberg, just changing people's lives.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I brought my wine. I thought this was happy hour, but I don't know. I think I was wrong. I swear one time I was going to, and you were talking about just have like wine, and I was like, I'm bringing wine.
Listen, I normally like drink during the podcast. I do, but I am so tired right now. I've had a week and I am just exhausted. So we're sticking with some water.
No water.
So don't, but you drink all you like. I think that's great.
I'm celebrating. Here I am.
You should celebrate.
My old self back at that craft store cutting fabric would be so proud of me for being here. So God, cheers to that.
No, I think this is fantastic. I must say, like, it's nice to obviously hear these things, but it's also great to know that it is having an impact on people that are going out to play. Yeah, and I truly wish I knew of all of this life before I went out to play, because I discovered it all after the fact. And so I'm jealous that I don't have the ability to say I did the same thing. Now I'm living it with this guy all the time. But I love it.
I love the like it's like brother sister energy. It's like we love each other, but like I can also choke you out. But no, I agree. I mean, I almost didn't have it when I went to play 41, right? I didn't even know that they existed. I wasn't like, I mean, I was a super fan, but like I guess I really wasn't, because I wasn't on all the online forums and things. I would discuss it with people who I knew and like that.
Yes.
But when I discovered it after I got taken off, and I was like, I can't believe it took me that long to honestly to find it, but yeah, it was very helpful. And it was like, it gave me a sense of like peace, and like it gave me something to like hold on to and to like really study, instead of like just watching it and taking my own thoughts. Like what are people that really study it? It's very helpful to have somebody who's like an expert in the game telling you all these things, right?
Look at you.
For like you. So it was very helpful, and yeah, I'm grateful for it.
Well, that's great. I think that's
awesome.
Thank
you.
You do change lives.
He is.
David Bloomberg is changing, but it might be the reason why I lost.
Oh
no! I had to throw that in there. That's a bad selling point, David.
I mean, so far, you're the highest ranking person who we know to have studied ahead of time.
Oh,
so there you are. That's a good selling point. Yeah.
Now there's a couple on this season who could, they're still in the mix.
That's true.
We won't have any names, but we know one. We know Carolyn has a poster, so we know.
Yes, we know that.
Love her. She's doing great. Yeah, I guess this is a good segue into like the people we're supposed to be talking about instead of me.
But people are, I'm sure, very curious about you as well. So you deserve all of the time and introduction, and also kudos to us as well.
Yes.
So we'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yay. My cat is coming to say hello as well.
Oh, hello, cat.
She's my baby. You like that? Yes, we do.
So we've had Boje's dog, right? And now we have a cat.
Yes.
Right. She's not Gaia. She's not the one the tribe's named after, but she's my favorite.
Oh, we won't tell Gaia.
I just couldn't get away with Moonkai. They'd be like, "What does that even mean? That doesn't make sense."
Yeah.
You name the tribe Moonkai. So I was like, Gaia will be it'll be easier to sell.
Yeah. Yes.
But Gaia's her little sister.
So people who maybe aren't regulars of this podcast, We don't normally spend this much time basking in adulation, but
But we should.
we should. We are actually here to discuss why Matthew lost. Okay, that's obviously more complicated this week because Matthew wasn't actually voted out.
Mhm.
But even in situations of injury, we still compare to the game of someone who went out to the rules that we were just discussing and see how they were doing up to that point. And as some additional information, I originally wrote those rules way back after season 1, been updating them ever since. And frankly, this is how I've handled it every time since the beginning that someone has gone out, not through a vote, even back when I was doing it as a web column. So, I mean, it's not like we were going to just get Cassidy here and sit around the Y Blank Lost Sanctuary and eat sandwiches and wraps. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so when
then
we
maybe
discuss
Cassidy and I could have chatted with each other and just ignored you.
that's what I was thinking, actually.
I
yes.
think that would be a good step for humanity. I think we need to get there so that there's some understanding on both sides of what that feels like.
That's right, because I am, if nothing else, a big muscly bro. So, okay, you didn't have to laugh that hard, Jessica.
Men and their egos, man. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm not here to start drama, y'all.
One of those guys.
Yes, one of those guys. So when we discuss it, we use all the non-spoiler information available from TV interviews, social media, secret scenes. The version of the rule, the most up-to-date version, the one that Cassidy was talking about, is available at robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed. Now, normally we have that right there on the screen.
We'll pop it up.
I mean, there it is, but then it covers some other stuff. So there you go, robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed. And then you just go to the bubble that says Survivor 44 rules, and then you click on it, and then you print, and make sure you have a lot of printer paper and ink. Now, so Jessica,
yes,
I do want to address something here because did you see a particular meme going around Twitter that involves you and Matthew and a couple other people?
I just might have seen that. I might have just retweeted it because it was hysterical. Taken out by rocks. Thank you very much.
4 photos, people taken out by rocks.
That took me a second. That's pretty good.
I think it was hilarious. Like I actually was sitting on my couch after the show. I don't know, maybe a little while later, and I'm scrolling through Twitter and I come across that and I laughed out loud and I told my husband and he thought it was rather amusing as well. So yes, I did see that and I appreciate the humor. So
wait, it was you, Matthew, and who was the other person?
Pascal, and then well, I can't remember her name. Was it Tina's daughter?
No, was it? Yeah. It was either Tina's daughter or Sierra. Which one was knocked out?
No, it was Tina's daughter.
It was Tina's daughter, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so those 3 were like actual drawing of rocks.
Yes, we actually picked rocks.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. But then
I think, people may remember that Jessica did not actually keep her rock. It rolled out of her hand, it fell to the ground. I think that was the seed, and it formed and grew the big rock that Matthew climbed.
You know what? I wish Rock Story had a little more agency in the game so that he could have taken someone out and then they could have included them in there as well.
Yes.
That would have been good too, right? Yeah.
Now I am wearing this particular
game can take you.
Yeah, I am wearing this particular shirt because you can see right here. There's where the rock is that he fell from, right there. So,
oh man, I hope he's not watching. That's going to be triggering.
Yeah, it is going to be triggering.
He's already seen it replayed on Survivor like 14 times.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, so people were saying, well, isn't the reason Matthew lost because he fell off the rock? And almost every week we say, well, what we see on TV is not necessarily the real reason someone lost, because it turns, there's other things. And it even turns out that applies this week too, because Matthew said in interviews that it wasn't the fall that took him out. It was, that was the initial injury, but in the 3rd episode, when he was digging in the sand and he yelled, "Oh, my shoulder," he dislocated it again. He fractured his humerus to the point that a small piece broke off. He fractured his scapula. He tore his rotator cuff, tore his labrum, and his subscapularis muscle had to be reattached. Now,
That's a lot.
yeah.
And I was laughing there because of Cassidy's face, because her jaw about hit the floor when
Yeah.
you were listing
My
off
God,
everything.
this poor kid. Dang.
Yeah, we have, what my best performing TikTok includes her jaw hitting the floor. So,
Say, can we just spend just a
There was
moment
many
on
times when it
Cassidy's
happened.
expressions? Because
Yes.
really, not only did you take the best photo ever for your cast introduction photo, like this is Cassidy, see me roar, which was incredible. And then all of the pictures and the images that CBS was putting out with you in them were fantastic. So thank you for that, because that was definitely
so
always
sweet.
entertaining.
Yeah,
Well, it
that
was
was one of the big fears of mine. It's just like, I'm gonna look like a monster on TV. And
Hi,
I was
hi.
just so grateful that
Jessica,
it turned out to
remember
be.
me? I mean, my
Oh,
cast
your
photo
eye,
is like me holding this dirty corn, and I look like I don't even know what's happening. All of our cast pictures were
beautiful.
terrible.
Yeah,
And then my pink eye situation, and oh gosh, yeah.
The
So
lizard in the water. Just a lot going on for your season.
it was bad. It was bad.
yeah.
But
I did not have the
I
cast.
think I just got extremely
flowing
lucky. That's
hair
not
going
even known for
on.
me. I don't always look that good as I did in the cast photo. I was like, is that me? Are you sure?
You
But,
look so good. It was
you.
amazing.
That was like one of the luckiest things that's ever happened to me in my life.
Yes, you will have that moment forever, and I will
Yes.
have dirty corn.
Yes.
I couldn't post it actually on social media. Like when we first came out, I was like, what? I still haven't posted it. Honestly, I maybe I will one day, but they only want us to do like this certain like headshot close up one. I was like, fuck, that's cruel. How do you give this to me and then I can't shamelessly advertise it? No, let's move on. We get on tangents. But thank you.
That's okay.
All right, sorry, we diverted there.
Oh no,
but
that's
it
okay.
needed to be said.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, for Matthew, obviously they didn't know the extent of the injury. He just knew he was in a lot of pain because Dr. Will doesn't have an X-ray or MRI on the island, surprisingly. So, Matthew had been told by doctors to cool it and rest, but he couldn't do it. This was the game he'd wanted to play for such a long time. He was in that regard, he was similar to you, Cassie. He was cast on 41 also.
Yeah.
And
this
then
cast is coming out slowly. It's actually really an interesting cast.
Yeah. And then, like you, he kind of redoubled his efforts after, he wasn't anymore. And then he went and
turned his backyard into Survivor.
Right.
extravaganza.
So so how is he going to sit back and not do the snake ball maze that he built and practiced at home? And he probably figured he'd be fine if he pushed it a little. And yeah, I totally understand that. I've been known to keep pushing through injuries on just a regular exercise regimen, which at times led to things like a shoulder injury of my own, a stress fracture in my foot, pushing through a heart attack on the elliptical, just little minor things.
Oh, Bloomberg.
So yeah, I can imagine what it was like for Matthew when he was told to just sit down and relax.
Yeah, you're not really relaxing when you're playing Survivor.
No.
You might think that you're going to, but you're not. And I can understand the significance that for him being there, knowing that this is his lifelong dream, and then being told just sit down and don't do anything. That would be a very, very difficult thing to try to attempt to do in such a situation.
Yeah, and there's another thing to be said about one thing I was reflecting on in the challenges. It's one of the best drugs that you have in your body during Survivor is adrenaline. Like when you're doing challenges, you do not feel a thing.
No, it's amazing what all of a sudden you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, you scrapes, bumps, bruises. You're just like, I blacked out. I don't know what happened. I had this like superhuman strength. And now I'm like all beat up at the end. I didn't even know what was happening. So I feel like with him, he probably was doing these challenges with so much adrenaline. He didn't feel the actual damage that he may have been doing to his body. Like, if it severely hurt him to dig in the sand and stuff, he probably would have cooled it off. But I think that, coupled with his desire, all the effort he put in, coupled with like the adrenaline he was feeling in those moments, he probably didn't realize how much damage he was actually doing. And that's, I can only imagine that's such a tough place to be in, because I think I would have done the same thing. I would have pushed my body to its absolute extreme. I don't like to give up or quit at all. Like, so I get that. And that must have been such a difficult decision for him to make at the end, to decide to take himself out of the game instead of him,
So, when interviews with Jeff came out shortly after the episode, he said it wasn't a medevac, but it wasn't a quit. And it's like, okay, well, what is it then? But then Matthew explained in his interviews that the doctor was going to pull him from the game, but Matthew said no, he didn't want his fate in someone else's hands, so he chose to leave instead. Maybe it's splitting hairs.
I fired before you quit me.
Yes,
Before you fired me, my brain.
Right. It's splitting hairs, but it made Matthew feel better. So hey, whatever.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still would. I think I would have wanted Dr. Will to tell me I need to leave.
Well, I think he did.
You would drag me out there kicking and screaming.
I'm not leaving. Too bad.
Yeah. So now we know the medical story of what happened to Matthew. But as I said earlier, we have a lot more to discuss for Matthew. But before we get to the rules, there are always other things about the episode for us to cover. A lot of the time, we start our discussion with the overwhelming number of idols. So why break a trend? And I know there were no new idols given out this time.
Shocking, right?
Yeah, but there are 3 things related to idols I want to discuss. First, Cassidy, the world has heard plenty from Jessica and me on the topic of both the real and fake idols this season. What are your thoughts?
So one big thing that I was thinking about, and I was also talking to Lindsay from my season and her husband about this as well. Shout out to them. With the fake idols, with production actually giving them fake idols, it's like, not only can you not trust idols anymore, you feel like you can't trust production. And that's a big deal, like, to feel like you can't trust the people, like, when it's supposed to be like a completely fair, non-biased show, and then these things are going on, it's like, it makes you wonder about other things, right? And I feel like it's a really dangerous precedent to set for the future, because players are not going to be able to believe anything that they get their hands on anymore. And to me, that just doesn't, I don't like what that might look like in the future. I mean, it might make more chaos, I guess, but like, when you find an idol, it's just, I mean, I haven't had the pleasure, right? But if I had, I'm sure it would have been an incredible moment. So to know that was all fake, and like the people, like, it was like God set me up, right? I'm like, wow, it wasn't even my fellow humans. It was God that literally played this trick on me. It hurts, you know what I mean? I feel like it takes away just, first of all, that moment, but also like, it takes away also players being able to like put the effort into like make these idols. It takes away that like what we saw Matthew do. That was really impressive. That was cool to watch him do that. And I don't think he even got a fake idol right. He never even knew that they were giving him fake idols.
Right. He just
so you can do it. Like, they give you plenty of little beads and trinkets and things that you can make idols from. And so I think that you should leave that in the players' hands and make that their decision, instead of giving them something that's like, I don't know. I don't really like that.
Listen, you are in our camp. We appreciate that response.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and that actually leads.
Shouldn't be inserting themselves like that. Yeah,
and that actually leads to one of the other things I wanted to talk about, was a situation where someone didn't do a good job, and it led to great humor. Josh's janky fake idol that literally fell apart in Jam Jam's hands. I mean,
and they totally called him out on it.
Yeah, I think it's
which is great.
Absolutely amazing. The Jam Jam nailed him on having used the tree mail beads. I don't know if Jam Jam studied those earlier to ensure nobody did that, or he just happened to notice it.
Listen, we get so many of those. When you see a bracelet like that, I wouldn't have trusted that either.
Right.
They give you so many. We all keep them. We fight for them. They one. And we also, if it wasn't like you're saying the fake idol he did, and then also it's a fucking stick. Like, that's classic. Like, we love when people make their idols and they fall and they're just ridiculous. Like,
yeah. And then on top of that, Carolyn saw that Josh used the same exact note as he'd showed her. Like, Did you think that you were going to pull this off? You know?
Yeah, that was all bad. But this is what makes it great TV, right?
Right.
So it's one of those situations where production doesn't need to involve themselves because players will do these things themselves. You've already mentioned the effing stick. That was just a player falling for a terribly made fake idol, and it was fantastic television. So just let it be. Let it happen. Let the players do these things themselves, because when one player pulls it over on another player because they planted this idol and they made it and this player believes it to be real, that's a moment for the player who created the existence of it. And to take that away because production wants to get involved, I just think it just lessens the significance of those moments, because it's not just about the players anymore.
Right. You know, and then you have Josh saying, I wouldn't lie, but they know he already had, because he's a surgeon and they called him out on that and caught him. I mean, I want to play poker against this man.
And sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, when you're pushing something that hard in Survivor, like if you have an idol, you don't really need to say that much. Like if you're going to a tribe with 3 people and you don't need to say it unless you really want to, if you actually have one, but like you really don't need to push it that hard, because if you actually have an idol and you're safe, then you're fine. You're going to play it. It's going to be whoever, or you'll make a deal with someone. But like he was pushing it a little too hard. That happened with Cody when he was saying he was going to play his idol for the final, when the Jesse vote happened. It was like he was pushing that really hard, so it was like it became obvious that he was bluffing. So I think you have to be careful about how hard you push certain stories and things in Survivor, because people will pick up on that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then also, I did want to follow up on the discussion we had last week. I had said that even though there were a lot of complaints about 3 idols being given out, at least one would be not ever used. And as it turned out, well, only one of the 3 actually was used. Now, I want to make it clear, this doesn't make this a good idea, what they did, giving all of them idols. And we talked about how one bad idea bred another. But at least it's a little less bad. Unfortunately, I feel like based on history, something being less bad means Jeff will think it's great and do it again.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, Jeff. Yes.
I agree. I do think that they tried it once, they'll try it again, because this is how Survivor production likes to do things, at least back-to-back seasons.
You know what I feel like might have happened too is because our season didn't have a ton of like wild stuff happen, like Jeff has talked about in interviews. And they think like, I mean, people were playing really smart. Sometimes that doesn't always mean like big crazy things are happening. Right. But I think what happened was maybe it was like less interesting TV, or at least that's what he seems to think.
Jeff, yeah.
And to Jeff, and so I think they were like, what do we do to make sure that doesn't happen again? And then they kind of threw all maybe they had multiple ideas or planned it out mostly, but it seems to me like ours was very similar to the other formats, like 41, 42, and then 44 is like all of these twists. Where was the bank your vote advantage? Like they couldn't have thrown 1 or 2 things into our season to just kind of divide it up. But I almost wonder if they weren't planning on using all this for 44, and then they just decided to like kind of throw it in just because they were worried maybe that it would be like the same sort of thing. I don't know. I'm trying to understand why there was so much that happened in 44, so many new things introduced, but nothing really in ours. And so that's something I'm trying to wrap my head around.
That's a very good point, because he did. I mean, he didn't complain as such, but it was a complaint. Like, oh, people were being very conservative. Oh, people were holding on to things. Yeah, that's the smart thing to do. You don't just go.
People were trying to win $1 million.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jeff. The weight of that, like people don't understand. I know the weight of $1 million, and if you make the wrong move. I'm like, I don't care if I make
the wrong rock.
I'm sorry, I don't care if I make a TV. I want $1 million. Like, and I'm not going to do a dumb thing or a move that's not optimal for me.
Yes.
Just because it's if it means I'm going to lose anyways.
Yes.
What's the point,
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, and that I do think that's a great way to phrase it, the weight of that. When you step into that game and you look around, and like I remember that moment saying one of us is going to win $1 million. Like one of these 20 people standing here is going to win $1 million. And that is crazy to even think about. And then to have it treated in the way that it gets treated sometimes by production because they do want it to be better television. It's like they're forgetting that this is a game for $1 million. Let people play it. Let people try to win. And I think that you definitely, the weight of it is very, very significant and gets lost, I think.
Yeah. Now, leaving the realm of idols, I want to start talking about a few of the players that we saw. One I wanted to start with is Jamie, who kind of is getting a similar edit to Josh, although a better one. She was on the outs in her tribe at the beginning, but now, she switched and she talks about how she conquered that tribe. And I could just imagine that tribe, like if they had heard that being like, really? And then she said, I am the most valuable person that anybody could ever interact with. Man, you got to talk yourself up more. You got you're being way too
We're on this
modest
podcast
there.
talking about y'all.
Very sure of herself.
Yes. So yeah, I do
think it's funny that so many of this dynamic with the switching of the people, the other tribes, it's like the new kid on the block and everybody wants to be their best friend and everyone's like, I want to talk to this person, instead of the person just being completely shunned and being like, we're just gonna vote you out. I find it fascinating that's
well, I mean, they did want to vote Josh out, but idols.
Fake idols.
Yes. Well, yeah. Now I do think it'll be interesting to see where Jamie goes at the merge, because she seems to believe she's still good with her original tribe and has connections in her new tribe, but we don't know if either of those are true. I mean, she said she knows everything in the new tribe, but she hasn't figured out that Franny and Matt are close.
Right.
So
I don't know how. It seems like they're being pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well,
when you're like really liking someone, it's as much as you want to hide it. Like, it's kind of hard, that pull that you feel like when you meet a new person that you feel very connected to, especially in real life. I'm just trying to imagine it from my perspective, because I always told myself I would never have a showmance. I would never do anything like that. I would not risk it. And I truly believe that I wouldn't, but I really can't say for sure, because when you feel that like strong pull to someone, it's kind of hard to, and you're living with them 24/7. For me, if I was with the guy 24/7 I just met, I would totally get the ick, even if I did start liking him at the beginning. It would freak me out anyway, so I would be stuck with him probably. That would be my story. But like, when you do like someone and you feel drawn to them, I'm sure it's really hard to like hide that, right?
Yeah.
Because you're already so I mean, I can imagine the difficulty.
Let's ask Jessica. Jessica, is it hard for people on your tribe? Let's see here. So what was your response when they told you that they were together?
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really amusing, because they truly didn't think that we were onto them at all. And Ken and I just thought it was hysterical, because they were literally like making out in the shelter basically, and like all cuddled up with each other. And yes, people do that
anymore. So
yeah, but it was,
I can't hide this. Like, you can't cuddle anyone. But
no, it was very, very amusing when the truth came out. Like, oh, shocking.
I'm like, I need to tell you something. No, we knew you're this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, no, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You really, there's not much you can hide on an island with a few people like that.
I do wonder if this is going to work out or not. Like, because typically, historically, showmances really have, besides Robin Amber, since Robin Amber's, which I think set the precedent of showmances failing, have usually set people up for failure in the game. And so I wonder if potentially that kind of thing could be broken. I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty big target to put on your back. I would love to see. I'm excited to see how they navigate this. It seems like we're getting closer to a merge. And so when there's all these new players involved, maybe they can shield themselves a little bit.
Right.
Happened to duos, like me and Carla went pretty far together as a duo. So I mean, we weren't like, I know like a relationship duo is a little bit stronger, but it's not impossible, but I would like to see how they handle it, because they both seem like, I mean, decently smart players. I know Franny really, I feel like, has her head in the game, so I'm with it.
Yeah, it was interesting because earlier I wondered if maybe it was mostly a one-way street with Matt crushing on Franny, but then Franny this episode definitely confirmed interest, and I mean, it was
She
hysterical.
definitely
Did I
confirmed.
don't have a crush on him? I thought she said that, but then she
No.
wanted to say how much she did have a crush on him.
No, she said, "I don't not have a crush." on him."
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I watched that 3 times, and for some reason I
Yeah.
kept like missing it. I'm like, wait, did she?
yeah, because then the producer, we don't see the producer usually, and the producer breaks the fourth wall there and is like, "You're blushing,"
Got it. Yeah, I think I heard I do not instead of don't not.
Ah,
For some
okay,
reason.
yes,
And I was
yeah.
like, wait, but then everything's
think the
about
first-
the food. And, yeah.
I think the first time that's what I heard also, and then I
Yeah.
had to like, wait, what did she just say?
Mhm.
Now we do have another couple who are obviously in love with each other that we have to talk about, and that's Danny and Brandon.
Oh my
God.
gosh. The bromance is
Yes,
real.
they just talked and talked while Carolyn sat
Hey,
there.
Cassidy, can you show me
invisible.
your tattoos?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I got Achilles. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I do have a new fox, though. I will shamelessly. How do I? How do I show this? Oh yeah, that makes sense.
There you go.
Hey, I have my fox with me now, so
Very
I would
nice.
definitely bro out over that, but
Yeah.
on front
Well,
of
but
like
that's-
somebody else and give them all my merge plans and everything right in front of this other player who I'm just disincluding. Maybe not that, but like I would maybe do my tattoo on
Yeah, but I mean, that's the other thing is Carolyn has obvious tattoos also. And I mean, maybe they mentioned it and we just didn't see it, but Carolyn certainly wasn't acting like she was included at all. And, when it comes to Carolyn, what's great about her being Carolyn is she's just going to be totally blunt about it.
Yeah.
And so she was, and yet they kept doing it. She's like telling them, "You're ignoring me." And they turn to
Mhm.
her and say one thing to her and then go back to each other.
Yeah.
And insult her in the process.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was very triggered by this scene, to be honest with you. Very triggered. It's just like, I feel like women experience this all the time. And I think literally any woman would agree that it was hard to watch. And it's like just something we've grown up with. And it was just difficult, like, to see that play out. I don't know, like, how much we saw. I'm sure they had conversations with her here and there. But for her to leave that situation feeling so strongly, like, that way, feeling like they did not like see value in her as a player or like an alliance member. Like they didn't even try to like pregame with her, or I'm sorry, like game with her all from what it seems. So they just like completely disregarded her. And I feel like women get underestimated like that so much, just every day in our lives. And especially when two, bros get together and then they just like, it's like we don't hold the same weight to them as like their bro does. And it's really unfortunate, and it makes you feel like less worthy, and that's not the case at all. So it was definitely hard to watch. And I think any woman would agree that this is a normal thing, but I think men a lot of the times don't realize that they're actually doing it. But it still hurts nonetheless. And I think Carolyn was like literally like telling them directly, and it almost seems like they didn't care. And so I mean, look, when they say it's a microcosm of society, they're not always wrong.
And I do wonder too how much we saw with the editing, and was there more of it? Was there less of it? Because as you did say, I mean, Carolyn is not going to hold back, and she certainly wasn't. And they kept doing it despite the fact that she was like, "Hi, remember me? I'm here too. And I would like to be involved in this conversation." Incredible. And they picked Josh in front of her. They're like, "Oh yeah, Josh could be like one of us too."
I know editing can like play a big factor. Like we don't always see everything and exactly how it goes. But they were like very clearly ignoring her at some point.
Yes.
Telling each other all the merge plans right in front of her. And they literally said, "If you survive tonight," like they've already counted her gone.
Yeah.
Then
they were like, but people
not wasting time on you
around because you suck in challenges.
That to me just shows like that's not good gameplay from either.
Oh no,
oh my
God, smart to do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who the person you perceive is like. Like they're playing this game for a reason. They're here for a reason. Like you need to understand. Like you cannot just go and say all of these things just like tell. It really didn't make sense why they were doing that. If anything, I would, even if I wasn't that interested in that player and wanted to play them, I would feign interest just so that it wouldn't backfire on me. You know what I mean?
David, I don't think they're following the rules there.
No, I mean that's in there. It was terrible social and strategic gameplay for them to do that, and
Danny and Brandon lost before they lost.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and also like Josh isn't doing great, but probably lost it for Josh too. You know what? It's
Right.
like this like ripple effect.
don't-
Josh doesn't even know this is happening.
Don't
and
jump ahead
he's
to my
being thrown in.
predictions here.
Statistical effect, you're so right.
Yeah, because I mean, your ally and your
he's there on the tribe that's about to go to vote.
no. I'm talking about you, Cassidy. Your ally James.
Yeah.
Probably.
True.
Yeah. He pointed out on Know It Alls that Josh didn't even want to be one of the bros,
Mm-hmm.
but by making his alleged job, personal trainer,
Right.
it's a bro type job.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, that's another aspect of lying about your backstory. We talked about it last week. That could come back to bite you. We were talking about all the things he did that affected him negatively because no one believed him. But now someone does believe him and they want to categorize him. And he's like, oh, I'm not that type of bro. And it's like, well, then you shouldn't have chosen personal trainer as your alleged profession.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And so.
And they really did throw him under the bus without even realizing it. How are you gonna actually I didn't even connect those dots that they were about to go to tribal, and Carolyn and Yam Yam, I mean, if they had gone to tribal, they probably would have teamed up to vote him out. They didn't believe him out the idol. Why not? Like, they'd known each other longer. And especially now that these guys have planted the seed in Carolyn's head that they're a tight trio.
Yeah.
That was so dumb in so many ways. What are they okay.
Oh yeah. And why would you do that? I mean, there's literally 3 people going to tribal council on that tribe. You're talking to one and you're talking about how you want the other one. Then what are you doing? I mean, just so
and
bad.
You definitely don't want her. So it's like, why not? Oh, so I'm gonna go back to camp. I'm gonna go vote out your ally so that you can't screw me over the merge because you don't
And that was almost what happened.
Yes.
But then
the
Rock happened.
Saved by the Rock. I mean, nothing.
So now, this kind of leads to, and you two start talking about it already without me. But no.
Do you feel left out?
Yes, I do.
I'm taking over.
So Cassidy,
hi, David. I'm the new host.
Something else.
Yeah.
Me and Jessica.
Yes. So, we have seen how women are treated in the game, and Jessica and I have obviously discussed this season. But Cassidy, there was a similar pattern at the beginning of your season about women being voted out. So I just wanted to hear any thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become more obvious in the new era that this is becoming like a trend, right? I don't know if it has something to do with like shorter seasons, like just multiple different dynamics of like what's changed. I do think this was still happening in the past, but I think it's just become more obvious now. And especially with the 3 tribe format, because there is so few people on the tribe. When you have 2 tribes, it's like you have a lot. Sometimes it's like 2 warring alliances, right? So it's not even. Sometimes you're trying to pick off the biggest member of, like, I don't know, like the dynamics are just a little different sometimes. And I think with the 3 tribes, really you really do look at it as like who's the weakest here? Like, you do not want to go back to tribal. And lucky for us, I guess, Gio was one of the weaker people, which isn't fair to him. It's just not fair to anybody. But but it's just like I get the mentality because I even was there too, but it's not fair. It's not cool, but it's like sometimes you just feel like, what else do I do? This is what I've been given. This is like how the game is. And I'm just trying to navigate the best I can and survive. And like, if we keep going to tribal because we keep losing, then I'm almost guaranteed to go home. Right. So you're like, the strength is too high on the pedestal at the beginning of the game. And what's interesting is like, it's usually not even really the strength thing that holds tribes back. It's like, the puzzle a lot of the time is like the great equalizer. And like I was saying, like even in my season when we did the 400-pound snake, like me and Lindsay did the puzzle at the end, and we ended up winning that one. And it was like, those are heavy pieces. Like, it's like, it's not always about the fact that you can carry the 400-pound snake there. It's like, can you get this puzzle done in time? Right. Yeah. And so I think it really isn't even a great show of like player skills, like everybody's skills. I feel like what would be cool and interesting is instead of big, heavy stuff, I know it makes like, I guess like interesting TV, but is if there was some challenges where it was like multiple stations where like you put your best player forward and you kind of do this like obstacle course marathon thing where like there's like a different test of skills. And they do that in some ways with the balance beam and like different things like that, but maybe just gearing it more towards like like multiple different strengths, because not everything is like muscle strength. There's so many different strengths. And I think they do better at this in the merge when you're doing individual immunity challenges, and that's the only reason I stood a chance. But like I think in the early game, I'm sure there are ways to I don't know. It's tough, man, but it sucks to see. It's hard. It's hard to watch. And I was scared going in. I'm so glad that I wasn't on 44, right? Or I could have been one of the first to go.
It'd be a much different conversation with Cassidy.
Yes.
I wouldn't be here because you'd be like, who is she?
Yeah.
I loved you.
All right. Well, we have for our Jeff Probst is wrong about blank segment a few things from his podcast. And first, he started by noting that in season 1, they laid a lot of the groundwork for the future of Survivor, and essentially the show hasn't changed all that much, though he acknowledged adding advantages and twists, those little things. Now, I'll grant what he said, because as I've said for a long time, my rules are, where they are based on the longevity of the format. Rule 1 has always been rule 1. Rule 2 has always been rule 2. A few of the others jostled around a little bit. But Jeff also said from the beginning they learned to trust the format. And while he's again right in what he said it, he's wrong, and therefore in this section, because he doesn't actually do it. If they trusted the format, they wouldn't add in all the twists and crap, just like we were talking about, Cassidy, just like you were talking about, like 43 was slow. Quick, let's dump a bunch of stuff in it. No, trust the format.
Let the players play.
Yes.
You're going to get a great show.
I also
because
think
really that's what it boils down to is the players.
And I think the shortened game really affects us the most. Truly.
Oh yeah.
39 days, you're losing it more. And there's more time for things to happen. The season stays the same, like probably episode length and everything on time, but you have so much more to pick from versus all these different things that can happen. And I feel like in 26 days, like sometimes like there's just not enough that can maybe happen. It felt like everything was moving so quickly, and it felt like, you see players get voted out and not really have like a chance to, like, I feel like with the longer format, players have more of a chance to like weasel their way out of things if they're on the chopping block.
Oh yeah.
30, you're just like trying to do like, let's just get over it. Let's just like kind of just try to get to the next vote. But I feel like with the longer season, that I just think that makes things more interesting. I would have loved to play 39 days, honestly. I could have gotten even more island hot. It would have been great. But
listen, I will never look that good again in my life. So.
I know. It's so true, God. I like trying to get back there, but never again.
No, I do think that it's a great point, because like even the swap, that was something that players anticipated at a certain time with the 39 day season, and it was something that could make or break people's games, and being swap screwed, and there's always that component existed, but it was part of the game, and it was something that people had come to learn. And now that's not part of the game anymore. And now they've added this weird, we're going to switch one person from each tribe and hand them all an idol and go, yay for you. So, and it just doesn't feel the same, right? It's because it has a different effect on the game. So I do think that the longer season, I agree. I also think a 2-tribe format is much better than this 3-tribe format. Yeah. So I can appreciate where Jeff is coming from, but I think he needs to go back and watch Borneo one more time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's
refresh himself.
Trust the players. Jeff also said they try to find interesting people and give them a game to play. Okay, then show us the interesting people. This was the first episode where they have actually shown us the interesting people. That because we didn't have a tribal council, because we didn't have a million different idols dropping in. Thought it was funny. Zach said at the Raleigh live show, he made a comment on the panel about this was a great episode, and we got to meet all the people, and Jeff was probably raging. We needed to drop more idols. But Jeff even said on the podcast they have clear guidelines about when to put idols in the game and the number and what their expiration is, so they can make sure they don't have too many. I think someone needs a refresher course in math because we went over the too many mark long ago.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I mean, do you remember when there were seasons where there was like 2 idols?
Yes.
And that was it?
I remember when there were
Lord.
seasons with no idol.
With no idols.
I know,
Yes.
crazy talk.
It is
I feel
insane.
like this season might have broken idols a little bit, slightly.
Yeah.
I mean, they were already
Well-
getting there, but like, I feel like really after this, I don't know like how much weight they're gonna hold anymore because of
Right.
the
Yeah.
slot, the fake
Yeah. No, I
idol.
had said that a couple weeks ago. Like,
Interesting.
did Jeff just ruin idols accidentally, which would be really amusing and ironic. But
I
all right,
also
well-
wonder how much of it is like not even just Jeff. Like, there's probably other people involved that like say yes or no to things, and like maybe you know what I mean, don't allow certain things. And I don't know. I do wonder like how much of this is actually Jeff's idea, or how much of it is like other people pitching him, and then like we're just like, all right, let's just do it.
I mean,
this time.
they have a group, but I feel like Jeff
That's
is
just, yeah,
he's the Pope,
yeah.
you know, and if he doesn't bless it, it doesn't get done.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, all right, we can leave the Jeff is wrong about blank segment. I want to say that 2 other groups are wrong, and it's related to the Jeff thing, and it's the questions or criticisms that they choose for the "This is why Jeff sucks" segment on his podcast, because the past 2 in particular have just been really dumb. Okay, last week the reason someone said Jeff sucks is he needs to get a haircut. I mean, really?
I love the flow, Jeff. Don't get a haircut.
Yeah, I would say to Jeff.
Always love I was like, oh, I saw him flow in like 41 or 42 or something, and I was like, he better have that flow when I get there.
Yeah,
If he doesn't,
that's the criticism. They have a whole ability to say why Jeff sucks, and it's his hair. This week, it's someone saying Jeff shouldn't call it a social experiment because it's a TV show. Like, these people have the ability to ask or say real things, and the podcast producers have the opportunity to address real questions, but they give him this BS.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's like they chose like the silliest, least thoughtful question.
Right.
Imagine so they didn't have to like. To be honest, I haven't even listened to any of the podcasts. I don't really know why. I haven't been interested in. I don't know. I think I'm just really truthfully after my season and the roller coaster it was, and just being on social media so much because of being involved in it when you're on the season. I think like now I'm just kind of avoiding things a lot, and like I'm not taking as much of an interest in watching the game. And I think I'll get back in that super fan mode later, but I think because it's so soon, I'm just kind of exhausted. And I've been trying to tune in, but I haven't really been listening to much podcasts. Or I think it still kind of stings too, because I'm like thinking back to all the things that were said about me, and it's like I don't know, like I totally watch Know It Alls. No offense to them, but they weren't that nice to me, so I don't really watch them anymore. But it's like I haven't tuned into that one either. No shade to Jeff, I love him, and I wish he had done it for mine. But is it good? Is it any good, or what is it?
Rob talked about it a little bit in one of his podcasts this week. It's definitely not a recap podcast, which Jeff said, to the point that it doesn't. It often doesn't contribute much to the actual episode. Like I said, he talked about episode 1 and how everything's set up, and he talks about production and stuff like that. Next time, I think they're talking about the art department. Yeah.
Okay.
So
is it interesting?
It's mildly interesting, and if nothing else,
it's Jeff talking.
If you've played, you probably understand this a little bit more.
But if nothing else, it often gives us
maybe.
Yeah, it often gives us content for the why Jeff Probst is wrong about blank.
Jeff is clearly very passionate about Survivor.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah,
it's
and I'll always love Jeff.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think all
of
us.
I agree with a lot of stuff you're saying.
Like that. Yeah.
It's hard because like I've watched him since I was 4, and it was like he was like this. I don't know what kind of figure he was to me. Like not like a dad figure or anything, just like. And then I watched him as I got older, and I'm like, wait, Jeff's kind of hot, and now it's like confusing. I'm like, now he's kind of old, so I'm like, not, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about him, but I just love him, and I'm confused on my feelings about him, but I do love him. But I do agree there's some things about Survivor that I think could use a little bit of a spruce up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Another thing that came full circle for Cassidy, right?
Yes.
Jeff Probst.
Yeah.
Truly, I couldn't believe he was there saying my name.
Yeah.
and like talking to me
Or whatever name he said.
or whatever. Yeah, I got called Candace a couple times. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just reminded him of Candace. Like, she's a good player, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey, it's okay.
Yeah.
It was just in the challenges. Everything was going so fast, and I was a challenge beast. So was Candace, right? Or am I crazy?
Yeah.
I don't even remember, honestly. Like I know I'm a super fan, but like I don't remember anything that happened in Survivor like, at all.
I'm
Just like this
terrible.
base understanding
Jessica
of
and
art.
I can testify. We were on Jordan Kalish's trivia once.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And it
No.
was
There was some
such a
question
mess.
about someone's
Oh, no.
baseball hat, right?
Oh, yeah, it was a mess.
was
It was
crazy.
Oh
terrible.
man.
Yeah.
So
Not good.
all right. So we are 54 minutes
Matthew.
into this. Yes.
Yeah. Wait. How long is it supposed to go? I've talked.
Well,
so
when we
much.
have a guest, we expect it to last longer. Especially.
Oh, okay.
we
So
do.
there's not a time limit because I remember in the deep dive.
No.
I was like, oh god. Okay. Cool.
Well, we hope not.
All night. Baby.
Um,
Ready. I got a full bottle of wine.
Oh my. Who knows what stories we'll be getting about Jeff
Now.
Probst.
I
by the
love
time we get
this.
to the
This is
end of it.
great.
All right. Well, before we see how Matthew did, we do need to mention that the rules come in a shorter and much more colorful version.
Whoa.
They do.
He's gonna
and
be live on this.
and that is in poster form, of course. You can go
Oh,
to
nice.
robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed. I will, let's see if I flash that up there again.
There you go.
All the
There it
doodles
is.
make this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was is it Eric?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't realize that one that gave the
So as a little history lesson for those who may not remember, Jessica actually had this made by Eric for my birthday.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
So the giant one, the giant one behind me is the original,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was an interest in it, so that's why we started making the smaller
That's so
ones.
cool. I love
of course.
that. I didn't even know.
Yeah. So it was. He blew me away when he started like sending me his ideas and he was putting things together. I never expected it to be so incredibly beautiful. He
It's
did.
so
I mean,
cute.
he's so talented anyway, but the way that he put it together, it was just truly just mind blowing. So
Yes.
yes.
It's so good. Is that Rupert and Johnny Fairplay?
Yep. Yep.
She died.
I'm on,
dude.
I'm
Oh
on
my
the
god.
poster. I had to be on the poster. So that
Yes.
was.
Where are you?
She is
I'm
by the
crying with
fire
my
there
rock.
crying on rule
Oh
6.
no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go like I said, go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed, click on it, order it. You can also get it as a t-shirt so you can wear it with you at all times and always know. And you can get the checklist t-shirt also for the even shorter version of it. And remember, everyone, that Carolyn had posted on Twitter that she lives by the rules.
Yes.
So, you can be just like her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, almost just like her because, she's kind of one of a kind. But
She definitely is.
but it obviously helps you get on Survivor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Also, sorry, really quick, just one thing on Carolyn is I feel like she's playing a very interesting game. It's almost like Debbie-esque in a way, but like more likable, and I think less grating. But also, but I think smarter as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, because she has that going on, and
she has a self-awareness too, and it's just like you can tell she's playing the game, and she's making smart decisions. It just seems like a little bit more chaotic, but it's and the only thing I'm worried about with her going to the end, and this was something obviously I struggled with a little bit too, is like when you play a more under the radar game, how do you explain yourself, or if you become this character to people and they don't see you as like a threat for long enough,
right?
They may not vote for you at the end, even if you made all of these moves, and even if you explain it to them, like it's. So that's the only thing I think that's just a tough thing to navigate when you have a certain personality, is getting people to take you seriously. I experienced a little bit of that as well. So
now I do think she has a good head start because Jam Jam was already talking at one point like she did this and she did this.
That's
fair.
Did
this.
Yeah.
But we hear her like arguing with herself. like, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, but I have to play the right game, And in some cases, she's almost like literally quoting the rules. Like, I can't let my emotions control me. It's
Just
like
you
she
in
has,
her head, just like
yeah, yeah,
You are.
she's talking to
You're-
herself, but
you're-
really in her mind, she's talking to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, normally as we head to the rules, I talk about the things a player maybe should have done or others thought they shouldn't have done as a setup to figure out what happened. But in this case, we already know why Matthew lost. The next step is to figure out how he was doing along the way. He'd been preparing for Survivor for years, but then dislocated his shoulder the first time on day 2. He said, "The only regret I have is I shouldn't have climbed that rock."
Yeah.
Were there any other regrettable things in his gameplay, or was he doing well despite his injuries? Let's take a look and see how Matthew was doing if he hadn't lost.
Mm.
So we begin, of course, with the first and most important rule, aside from avoiding rocks, which is to scheme and plot. And despite the fact that Ratu only went to one tribal council and Matthew didn't even vote in it, he still had quite a bit going on. Matthew said at one point on the show, "I like being sneaky. I never intended to play an honest game. That's not how I wanted to outwit, outlast, and outplay. So I will pull any trick out of my bag to win." And even in the relatively short time he was there, he did just that, including even pulling a shot in the dark scroll out of that bag, though not for the reason anyone has done up to that point, because he wasn't trying to give himself safety. He was trying to give himself an out so he didn't have to declare a side in the Ratu civil war.
Yeah.
He knew things were swirling around and expected 2 people to vote Brandon while 2 others didn't vote at all. And he wanted Brandon to play the idol. So, as we surmised at the time, he told Brandon he was the target and then ducked out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, even then, from what he said in his interviews, he had more ulterior motives on top of that because he knew Kane would be on the outs, which he was, and which we saw Matthew also add fuel to, which meant Kane was now open for Matthew to go in and grab as an ally. And it also meant that then another idol would come back into circulation, which Matthew also picked up. And so it might have been one move, but there was an awful lot going on with it.
It was truly impressive to see him explain the breakdown of all of this, because I feel like a lot of people watching the show might think that it's linear, that it's like one move and that's it. But he saw it from every direction and how it would compound upon itself and the effects that it would have, and then what this would mean. And I was really rather impressed reading this, thinking to myself, wow, he put all of the pieces together, and it shows that he truly knew everything that was happening in the game, because in order to pull off something like that, you have to know where everybody is landing and how everyone is voting, which means you've got your finger on the pulse. You're paying attention, you're creating the relationships you need, but you're fully understanding what's happening. So truly impressive that he was able to put that together, because as we have discussed, we're not big fans of the shot in the dark. So the fact that he was able to figure out a way to make it work for his game, very impressive.
Yeah. I always find it interesting when players take I don't know if you'd call it shot in the dark. I suppose you could call it an advantage, but like every player gets it. So I don't know, but it's like, it's interesting when you take it and you make
Every
it
player gets an idol too.
for another reason, right? You make an idol, or you take an advantage and you use it in a way that wasn't necessarily anticipated, but worked really well for you, and maybe wouldn't have been something a lot of people or anybody thought of. And I think that just shows like that creative out of the box thinking that's really impressive. I applaud him. I love Matthew, by the way. I think he would have been such a good player to watch. I was super bummed to see him go. I know he didn't really know that much about him, unfortunately. But he was like, he was making such incredible little moves here and there in the times that we got to see him. And it's so bummed that like something like a shoulder took him out. Maybe he'll get a chance to play again the same way Bruce has been declared the first returnee.
Yes.
But yeah, it's so true. He really was looking to be a really good player. I think he was in a pretty good spot on his tribe as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, he explained in interviews how he knew he needed to have 2 allies so he could overcome Lauren's extra vote if she joined together with Brandon. So then, after he got Kane, he was working hard to get Jamie on board too. And we'll discuss more specifically about how he did that when we get to Rule 7. But when Jamie was then swapped out, Matthew was like, there goes all that work down the tubes. And that's why we saw him working so hard on Carson. And also, what we didn't know while we were watching, why he tasked Kane to become Carson's nerd pal. Carson talked about how people at RHAP were just coming at him with all sorts of information. Well, that's why he was being courted.
Yeah. And again, this just shows how Matthew was fully aware of everything that was happening. And also, this is a good bit of advice for anyone who is interested in becoming a survivor. Just because you put all of this time and energy into this person, don't think that that person is going to be with you until the end. And you're going to have to do the same work with the next person potentially, because you just have to. There are things that are outside of your control. And that was exactly what we saw him do. And I know it probably looked weird, because I know when I saw that scene where all of a sudden he was just divulging everything to Carson, you were just like, wait, what? What is he doing?
Right.
But there was a method to his madness, clearly.
Yeah.
Can I just say as a precursor, or not precursor, just a side note, I am not yawning for any reason besides other than the fact that I literally cannot control it right now, but I'm so invested and interested, and I don't want you to think that I'm yawning. So like, oh, this is boring. No way. I'm so excited in this moment. But
listen, I've yawned twice already. I'm so tired.
Okay, good. I looked the third time, and I was like,
that's why she must be yawning and causing you.
I'm causing this to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I had a hell of a week, so I'm ready for bed.
Yeah. Now, another aspect of Matthew's scheming didn't involve voting, but a different type of strategy. He tried to hide the extent of his shoulder injury from the other tribes, and even a bit from his own tribe mates at first, and didn't have that sling on when they arrived at the first challenge. But then apparently he told Claire about it after she questioned him relentlessly for 3 hours during the challenge. So that went kind of up in smoke.
Yeah. It was a good try, though, but also bad choice, because he wrecked his arm even more.
Wait, for which part? Sorry.
For that's still part of his scheming that he had not told them. That's all.
Okay, sorry.
So anyway, we can move to the second rule, which says not to scheme and plot too much and to keep your scheming secret. Now, it's hard to say much about Matthew in terms of this rule, but from everything we saw, nobody thought he was over scheming or anything like that. And, he discussed in his interviews how nobody had any idea he had the idol or about his alliances or anything like that. He seemed to be keeping a good kind of low profile there.
And I'm fascinated how he was able to do this, because I almost feel like Matthew's the type of player that could have gotten himself into a predicament because he was so stretched, right? He's interacting with every player. He's creating relationships with every player, different types of relationships, and utilizing each person to further his own game. And I just was curious if at some point it was all going to come crashing down, where he's divulging all of these things to Carson. He clearly, now we know, had this relationship with Kane. He wanted to keep Brandon in his back pocket. And then he's forming a relationship with, was it Heidi? I'm trying to remember who ended up coming into the mix with him. I'm getting the names probably wrong. But who was it that got swapped?
No, that was Carson.
Oh, it was Carson. Who got swapped out? I'm sorry.
Jamie.
So he had been working with Jamie, so it's like all of these relationships that he was building. I'm just wondering if come merge, like if he had made it, if everyone would have started talking and started going, well, wait a second. I don't know. Because he did seem so good at it. And seemed like he was managing everything so well that perhaps people wouldn't have shared because it wasn't too obvious. I'm curious how that would have worked out for him.
To me, I kind of relate this a little bit to Jesse, and wondering if it would have gone that way, because he does seem to have like a very sweet nature. And he's trustworthy. Like, I don't know. That's just when I watch him, I like him. He seems like warm and inviting and trustworthy. And he doesn't seem like there's like, not that he doesn't seem intelligent at all, but like you wouldn't necessarily perceive that he has a million things going on in his mind. That
he's very good at hiding it
from a bird's eye view. So he very well could have potentially gotten away with it the same way that Jesse did, by like just being this like really sweet, calming nature that you just wanted to trust, you wanted to work with, and you didn't really know why, and you didn't understand that all these other things were happening in the background or in their mind. And so
Mhm.
I think there's both potentials, and it would have been interesting to see it play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the third rule tells players to be flexible, and it would be all too easy to make a joke here about Matthew's shoulder, but I won't do that.
Oh, but David.
I didn't do it. I said I wouldn't do it.
Might as well have.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh Lord.
Now wait a minute, Jessica. You made a crack about Bruce when we hit this rule and at one point, didn't you? Oh no, you weren't on that
No,
podcast.
I was.
A
Excuse me.
crack?
Look at this.
A crack,
The finger
yeah.
pointing, even, and I'm like, I didn't even talk about the poor man
That's
because
right.
I wasn't
You're
on
right.
that podcast.
You're right.
This is
Okay.
what I'm looking for. This is why I'm here.
Okay, here we go. You ready? It's coming out. I guess you were wrong.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Dave Bloomberg. Okay, I guess I was wrong. You are not right.
Yeah, I'm
Look
right.
at this. The, finger, the wagging of the finger.
You show him this and
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
David, now remember, you've been wrong
No,
before.
Bruce.
It's okay
Bruce,
to be
I
wrong
did not
again.
say anything mean about you and your injury, like David Bloomberg would like to imply.
Yeah. So anyway, Matthew told.
Oh, I know you guys fight, but you guys are so similar. You just said the same words.
So Matthew told Mike Bloom his only plan coming out was to make a plan on the fly and adapt. So he ran through different possibilities until he decided which move to go with. And then he said he tried to finesse every little move or every decision that I made to make sure that it was fluid and made sense. Now, all of that sounds good. And it's just too bad we didn't get to see more of it.
Yeah. And I love that he recognized that he couldn't really come in with a plan, because one of the things we talk about a lot is you come in with a plan, but this person comes in with a plan, and those plans might not jive. So the fact that he was coming in with the I will be flexible because I will do whatever I need to do to kind of make it fit and make it work is really quite impressive.
Yeah. That you kind of have to be that way. It's like if you are so rigid in your plans, you're just gonna snap when something goes wrong.
Right.
You gotta bend around things. So I think that helps more certain personalities more than others. But like you have to still, like, even if you are a very like type A person who's like very much set in your ways, like you have a schedule, you're like, which is not me at all. But that has its own benefits. It really does. That I think I struggle with in certain aspects. And then there's the other type of personality. It's a little bit more free flowing, a little more creative, right. And that can kind of go with the wind, but that can also be a little bit chaotic, and that can get you into trouble as well. So you really have to find like a nice balance between the two, I think.
Yeah. I'm loving your cat back there, by the way.
Yeah, the tail that was coming out of
can I
your
just
ear.
show you really quick? So there's that one. That's Gaia. That's our this is like, wait, what am I doing? And then there's 3 sleeping next to me.
Oh my
They're
goodness.
just
You have 4 cats?
They're all just hanging around. So 3 of them are mine, and then 1 of them is my roommate's. So yeah, we got 4, but they're amazing. I love them so much, and they're my babies, and they just like to be around. So like wherever I am, they'll just like all kind of.
Oh, that's
settle.
awesome.
Like, and we're Gaia. Anyways, that was Gaia. That's who I named the tribe after. In case I don't know if you knew the story, but
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, nobody else knew that at the time, but I was pushing.
But it's nice that you had that for yourself.
I was like, and it means Mother Earth. It really was about like Mother Earth, like that. That's why I named her that. It's like the goddess of Earth, that like Mother Nature that I feel so connected to, that I felt so connected to out there. And that was where her name originated from, anyways. But anyways.
But then you could giggle, be like, yeah, that's my cat's name, and no one knows that.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh wait, there she is. Hi, Gaia.
Yeah.
What do you think about Matt going home? That wasn't very great, was it?
No.
I don't give a shit. Sorry, people who are not watching on video, you missed out.
Yes, you missed
the cat.
The video, rewatch this.
All right, we could go to the 4th rule, which tells players not to let their emotions control them. I think there's one obvious place things went wrong here, but Jessica, I'll toss it over to you to see if you're thinking along the same line I am.
Climbing up the rock?
Yes. Yes.
Perhaps he should have taken that childhood adventure that he wanted so badly and just push that down. Been like, you know what? Let's not climb the rock today because this is probably a bad idea.
understand. It just didn't even seem that fun. It just seemed dangerous.
Right. And I will say, I feel like he's on the same island that I was on.
Mine too, I think.
Yeah. So
No,
I'm
never mind. That was
familiar
good.
with that rock. And I think Brett might have tried to climb it as well. Don't know why. I
Oh,
think
it's just like it draws. It's like a siren song. It's like come
But
to me. Like,
those
it's
rocks
like
are
a big buff now.
slippery.
I'll go after it, but
Yeah, but those rocks are so slippery. And so yes, I feel I'm sorry, Matthew, but yeah, you should have just said, childhood self, we're not climbing this today. We're not going to do that.
Forever for that. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cassidy, did you have the urge to run around and climb things while you were there?
I just let Ryan do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is fascinating.
It's fun to
because
explore. I love exploring it. I'm
Yes.
just like, I'm not gonna beat myself. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna hurt myself to climb something. Like,
Right.
I don't like heights anyway, so the climbing is not my thing necessarily. Swimming, I went and swam so far out in the ocean. If I got eaten by a shark and y'all were making fun of me now, that would have been fair because I totally could have gotten like, I loved going out. I like one time I was just I was like in a really bad mood, so I went out and swam so far. And yeah, so I've made my own decisions out there that could have been risky, but it wasn't
Right.
heights. It was more of just different things. But yeah, so everybody has their cup of tea out there that they're trying to like explore and have fun with. But it just so happens that his unfortunately was climbing slippery, dangerous rocks.
Yeah,
and
so the Why Cassidy Was Eaten podcast.
I did have to eat by a crocodile one time too. Like, I don't know, man. The sea's gonna
What?
get me. Yeah, in Mexico. The sea's gonna get
Oh
me.
my gosh.
Because I was going to get my mind off of not being chosen for 41. I was so depressed. I was like, I have to go live in Mexico for a month with my aunt. And I almost got eaten by a crocodile, like in this tiny little cenote that we were swimming in. There was one in there with us, and it was like so close to us. And if it had wanted to grab one of us, it absolutely would have killed us. We were so far out. There was no time to get to a hospital, nothing. So yeah, it was such divine intervention. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
You're lucky it was full.
Yeah, you literally whatever its last meal was. I'm so sorry, but thank you for your sacrifice. Because it would have been me. I would have been coming on Survivor like 10 years later, like literally with one leg, like Noelle did, and been like, actually, I was supposed to be on Survivor, and then y'all dumped me, and then I was sad, so I went out and swam dangerously, got eaten by a crocodile, and so now you owe me, and now I'm here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was wild.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
I'm a survivor, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I love saying that now because it just has so many meanings.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we can move to the fifth rule, which reminds players they need to pretend to be nice and play the social game, unlike the Burrows. Now, from what little we saw, Ratu seemed to like Matthew. He added to that by telling Mike Bloom that his tribe was thankful for how much knowledge he brought and how he helped everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized he was never anyone's target. And, in talking to them, figured, okay, well, I obviously have a good social game, or other people are really just gunning for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think that he certainly connected with everyone that was on his tribe, didn't seem to have any issues, and also recognized almost his faults and was trying to correct those by doing things with the tribe or for the tribe, and realizing what he needed to present in order to maintain himself in the tribe, like at the beginning when they had the sweat challenge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I have to prove myself, so I'm going to do this. So he definitely seemed to be very aware of his surroundings and who he was playing with, and kind of manipulated things depending upon who he was interacting with, but didn't do it in a like slimy way. It was very like, I think the Jesse analogy is a great one because he really just seemed likable, and it didn't matter who he was interacting with. They liked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people just have that magic, man. I don't know what it is.
No, I don't have that magic.
Yeah, me either. I mean, that can be very polarizing for some reason. I don't know. I didn't even realize it that much until. But also, I think too, to add on to what you're saying, when he was like over or performing the challenges, I was wondering, like, in these episodes, like, why is he not like taking it easier, sitting out.
I said the
Like,
same thing.
you know,
Yeah.
like, if we lose, if I don't help and we lose and we go to tribal, they might take me out anyways because of my arm,
Mhm.
and I'm not participating. So what good am I right now in this?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that might have been a dilemma he was kind of debating too, and that might be a reason why he, like, you know, not only he was probably thinking about this, and he was like, well, if I don't step in and we lose, then I'm probably
Yeah.
anyways. So I might
Yeah.
as well, you know. But in the end, it ended up being probably his downfall a little bit. But
Well, his downfall was his downfall, but yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
oh, there it goes. We were waiting for that.
You just can't help yourself, can
I
you?
can't. I'm sorry, Matthew. I'm sorry.
Hey.
All right. The 6th rule warns against being too much of a threat. And I feel bad saying this, especially after what I just said. But it turns out Matthew was something of a threat to himself. You know, aside from that, Maddie told Mike Bloom after she was voted out that she'd seen Matthew from day one as a threat because real recognized real. She called him a wild card who was going to play a crazy game, which was her own plan. And she didn't want someone else like that around because she wouldn't be able to read him. I'm not sure I agree with her initial read. I mean, yes, he obviously did those imaginative things in the game, but we also discussed how he thought things through. So I don't know that I consider his game crazy so much.
Yeah, I wouldn't say crazy, but I can understand slightly what she's trying to express. But yes, crazy doesn't seem to be the right term for it. But if you see someone on the tribe who is clearly interacting with everyone and that seems to be working, that can definitely be a scary sensation because you're all like vying for each other's help and vote and support and all of these things. And if one is doing it better than you, and if it comes down to a choice between you and this other person, and they're more liked than you are, then yeah, that's definitely going to be a problem. So for her, she might have looked at him and said, that's the guy I got to watch out for. Just like we saw Carson do with my winner pick, Helen. I'm so very sorry.
I just want to know who brought it up. I did not.
I did. Okay.
I did hear. I remember this when I was listening, and you were like for 41, or I think you were talking about maybe it was in 42. You were talking about again. You at one point were like, my winner pick always loses.
Yes.
And so I think you're predicting for 42. So I'm so sorry to whoever I predict. You're gonna lose. And I remember thinking, I'm like, I mean, I'm like, it's after the fact, but I'm like, I hope Jessica doesn't pick me. I can wake up tomorrow and I dreamed it all and I won and it wasn't real. And I was like, but I just remember thinking that. I was like, that's so funny.
Real, because every up and coming player should be thinking the same thing. Jessica, do not pick me as your winner pick because it's not going to work out well for you. Yeah. So
and there's a parallel universe where you did pick me and I, you know, or you didn't pick me and I won. Who knows? But
it's terrible. It's really
we
bad.
both picked Owen for your season, so
yes, we did.
I would have picked him too. He was my number one threat going into the merge, but
yeah,
things changed.
He was fantastic.
Yeah. He was great. I love Owen. If you're listening to this, you know how much I love you. I'm so happy we got to the end together and we lost together because it formed such a trauma bond, and like we are forever.
Oh my God, trauma bond
from that. Really, like we are. We went on the plane together. We held each other. We're like, can we sit together? We like held hands and we're like, so what happened? And it was really sweet. So I love you, Owen. You're my bestie, and I'm grateful to have him and Lindsay. If you're listening, oh my God, stop! You're my bestie too. We all have a group chat, anyways. But I'm so grateful to be able to come out of my season with like two really amazing people, really amazing friends. I call them all the time for advice. Like they're so good at like just like they're just amazing people and they're such good friends. So anyways, sorry, that was such a side note, but I love y'all and I just wanted to shout you out because you're the best people ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
as always, I love digressing. Like I just love
fine.
That's fine. And rants.
If it were Jessica, I'd yell at her, but you know, you're fine.
I know. All the time.
That's part of the experience. That's part of the Bloomberg experience.
That's right.
So, I used to be like afraid of this guy. Now I'm just like, whatever.
I love it. That's this part. Like I love the dynamic so much, and this is why.
Seriously,
it's to watch it live.
When I first started doing this, I was I was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up. Like, what am I going to do? This is going to be so scary. And he's going to fire me in like 5 minutes. It's going to be awful. And we didn't do video. So like, he never saw the panic that was coming over me every time we would start the podcast. I had all these stacks of paper and all my notes, and I was all ready. Now I'm lucky if I come with a pen to write things down that he says.
Yeah.
It's a much different world now.
Can I ask really quick? I know this is off topic as always, but how did you end up how did this end up happening? How did y'all meet? Is it a quick story? Magic.
There is a story.
Yes.
And so David was like one of my biggest supporters when the whole thing happened, with just everything with my season. Like, he was constantly defending things that I was doing. And so I would listen to him and be like, he's so right, because he really was right. So I have to say that about David. He was right. Yes. And so it just kind of became this constant. And then once Rob asked me to come on and do a one-on-one with Rob, I would only do it if David was with me, because I needed my lawyer with me. Because Rob didn't necessarily agree with everything I had done throughout the game, but David seemed to understand. So I said, okay, Rob, I'll do it if David can join
David
us.
along with me. I would have done that. Oh my God. I wish I'd gotten you on. Yeah, I wish I'd gotten you a final time with me.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
so
it was the deep dive.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
It was a deep dive? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And then at that time I was doing the podcast with Rob. I don't know if you went back that far. So
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were doing know-it-alls?
No, I was doing this Why Blank Lost with Rob.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it was a different format.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a different format where Rob was asking me, okay, David, how did they do in this rule? How did they do in that rule?
I'm going to have to go back and look at some of those.
Yeah. And so, but then he wanted to branch off. He was doing like every podcast at that point.
Mhm.
So he was talking about Survivor like 5 times in a week.
Wow.
And, he'd start to run out of things to say at one point.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to branch off a couple of the podcasts. And that's when, the RHAP B&B was born at that time. And he came to me. We were in Utah for an RHAP get together. And he said, David, how would you like to, do this, go to the RHAP ups and do this, not as my co-host, but as a host with a different co-host. And we both immediately had the same person in mind when he said it.
Aww, I love that.
Yes, and then I died when I got the request from them. I don't know if it was an email or a text message, but
probably
I was
a text. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
I was absolutely blown away and shocked. So
yes. I love that. So obviously meant to be. And then here we are
the rest
today.
is history. Right.
Here we are today. It's over 5.5 years later. Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. Wow.
Well, we love having you join us. So there, we went off on another tangent.
Yes, but that's
thank
okay.
you. I needed to know. Listen, if there's viewers out here that just started on this podcast and now they know. Like,
yeah,
we refresh the story every little while, so we understand.
That's right.
And you can blame it on me anyways, because I do.
That's okay.
A lot.
So getting back, just as a reminder, we were in the 6th rule talking about Matthew not being a threat. But one thing that I think had the potential to make him a threat was after he won that, snake ball maze challenge. I don't know what the official name is. He talked openly about the fact that he had built one and practiced in his backyard. And I feel like come merge, that could have come back to bite him, because the immediate question is, what the hell else did he build in his backyard?
Right. And apparently it was everything.
Everything. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that you have to check your ego on, because it is like, that's an impressive thing to do. And that's like something that I would want to brag about too, right? Or I would at least want to let Jeff know. But I think it would have been the smarter move to maybe tell that in a confessional and just hope they air it.
Yes.
In challenges anyways, you don't know if it's going to be aired necessarily. But and then just hope it gets back to Jeff if you want Jeff to know or whatever. But just like, I think that's something better said in a confessional rather than in the open format.
Right. And that's what Carson did. Carson to his tribe was like, "Gah, I can't believe that guy." And then to us, he's like, "Well, actually, I 3D printed all the puzzles." And And I'll tell you, the TikTok that I made off of Carson doing that, he passed your puzzle win. You
Oh,
were
no.
your TikTok,
Mine?
Cassidy, yours, yes, was the second highest.
Carson!
Was the
What the
second
hell?
highest views on my TikTok from you winning the.
I remember you
what was it?
telling me you were excited and like,
Yeah,
and I just can't believe this. I feel like I was like, oh my god, I'm definitely his favorite now. That's on his TikTok. I'm amping that thing up,
yes.
and now Carson's just gonna come in and steal that from me. But it's
Damn it, Carson.
Now-
love you, Carson. though he was the
you-
first person I met from that season, anyway. So.
Well, you are still in the number one. He has not gotten to the number one yet. The number one is the one with everybody's jaws dropping at Jesse. And so, of course, you are front and center in that, although there is, one other person who has her jaw in the jury box, just like
More fairly dropped, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
well, that's a few. I was worried for a second.
For now, I mean,
I don't
he's
have any more
about,
content to give you, and
I
so
know.
Carson has the whole
Well,
season, so I might be
well,
screwed. But
we'll take something from this,
There you
Listen,
go.
I do
Perfect.
that, yeah.
So
Maybe me with my cats.
yeah,
Who love
there
that?
you
Who
go.
love cats? Come on.
Yeah. Cat videos. It's what the
I've
internet is
recently
made on.
declared my Instagram as a cat, like a cat, stan account, pretty much only. Because like all I post is cat stuff now. I don't know. I
Nice.
think I just I've gone away. I've become like this cretin who just loves her cat, like a little monster, just afraid to look outside because it's just too hard anymore, and I just am just here with my cats. I'm just kidding. I'm okay, guys. I'm not screaming for help mentally.
Yes.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But really, I
Blink your
do
eyes if you're
post a lot of cat stuff because I just love them, and it's probably annoying, but they're the best. They
Oh
are.
my gosh.
They're just so cool. Anyways, sorry. This is why cats are great.
Yeah. The sub podcast. Now, I will say for Matthew, after his second injury, obviously no one was going to see him as a threat, physical threat anyway, which would have been good except for the obvious consequences of that second injury. After he originally hurt himself, I was actually thinking, hey, if he could play it up like Tyson did and therefore reduce his threat level, it could help him. But then two things happened. First, he didn't play up his injury, but in fact played it down by doing things he wasn't supposed to do and like winning that snake ball puzzle. And two, he couldn't play up his injury because his injury was worse than anyone knew.
Yeah. I forgot that Tyson did that.
Mhm.
And that was really quite entertaining.
Mhm.
Now that I remember.
I remember that too. That was funny.
Yeah. All right, we can move on to the seventh rule, and it covers idols, advantages, game mechanics. Now, back in the first rule, I mentioned we'd have a few strategy-related items here to discuss as they pertain to idols. Now, one we already mentioned, but I want to repeat, and that is, according to his interviews, Matthew is taking into consideration that an idol would be re-hidden if Brandon used his, which was one reason for wanting it flushed. And indeed, Matthew said finding the re-hidden idol was easy and only took relatively few minutes, while it appeared nobody else was even looking for it.
I know, that's crazy. 7 minutes.
Yeah.
7 minutes. That's what he says it took.
Um,
Unbelievable.
Now, from there, he, of course, made the fake idol and, supported the point that you made earlier and on previous podcasts, Jessica, about, and Cassie, that you made earlier, about how production shouldn't just give away fakes because it takes time and effort. And Matthew definitely said it took him several days to make that.
Well, and also he took it a step further because of the whole planting of the fake idol and the luring of the person he wanted to find it takes it to another level, right? It's not like I just hit it in hopes that someone would find it. He wanted a particular person to find it.
And this just gave me the thought that listen, if you're gonna plant fake, you're gonna introduce that fake idol thing into the game as an advantage for a player who finds it. Don't put them together with a real idol. That's too much power. Give them either they find it and they think it's an idol, and then you're like, oh, this isn't actually an idol, but here's a fake idol you can reuse and plant it, and here's a real note for it. Do something like that rather than giving them both of those things. That seems like a little bit too that's just that's so much power, and you know what I mean, in the hands.
Yeah.
Fake idols. You really want to make fake idols, at least do it to where it's just that they find that, or that becomes an advantage in its own necessarily. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Now,
I agree with it, but I'm just saying.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, he had, Jessica, like you were saying, a plan, because we discussed earlier how he needed to get Jamie on board with him. And he said while they got along, he wasn't able to get like strategic with her. So he made sure he led her to the fake idol, because finding an idol together is a bonding moment. And, the funny thing was, when Jamie found it, she's like, oh, she couldn't have written it any better. Well, maybe you couldn't have written it any better, but Matthew actually did write it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Right. It's like too good to be. Sometimes things are really too good to be true.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Now, we also previously discussed how Matthew used the shot in the dark as a strategic move to avoid showing his hand, which in and of itself is a so far unique way to use it. But he also added in his interviews that there was no real point of saving it for later, because it only gave a 16.66667% chance of doing anything for him. Voce would be proud. So it was put to better use in the way, that he did it.
Yeah. Again, just great way to come at something in a much different way that the, production introduced it into the game. Yeah, just great.
Yeah. I just have mine as a souvenir, but if I could have found a way to to do that, I think I would have. But it's still a souvenir.
They let you keep it. They didn't steal it from you, so they could reuse it.
Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Like, I definitely snuck some things in my bag that disappeared, but like a flint, which wasn't. I mean, from like the final fire making practice thing, but that disappeared. I was like, well, damn it! What? How dare they? Right, but no, everything else was everything else was mine. Yeah, I got to keep it. Lots of shells. I took so many shells home.
Yeah,
I actually had to remove half the shells that I had collected, because I was worried the airport security was gonna flag me and give me a huge fine. I don't know. I just got really paranoid. I think I just had bad anxiety the last day that I was leaving. And, I wonder why. And so I was I'm dumping these. I was so sad. I still regret leaving those behind, but anyways.
Yeah, I was kind of a hoarder. I collected a lot of things.
So we discussed already a little bit how Matthew told everyone he made the maze and practiced it, and I think we also mentioned he built everything possible and practiced it. A balance beam, something to spin himself, and all this was just to get a little advantage over the other players, or maybe a big advantage sometimes. So I think that's also smart thinking, as long as you don't tell everybody that.
Yes, but he seemed to be very particular and careful about the information he was sharing and who he was sharing it with, which I can appreciate, because we've talked a lot about how loose lips seem to be an issue on Survivor lately, where people are sharing all of their secrets. But he seemed to be very, very particular, and with reason, which I can support that.
Yeah. Now, one thing that obviously did not give him a big advantage was his decision to climb a rock. But while it was portrayed on the show as him just doing it because it was there, or there was some comment he made about crabs, which doesn't even make sense. Why would there be crabs all the way at the top? But he said in interviews that he decided to climb it because something looked amiss at the top. So he thought something was, both literally and metaphorically up. Now, it's hard for us to judge from here, but it just seems to me that's not where production usually would put idols or advantages, because of the risk of something like this happening.
Yeah.
I remember there was even a part of our beach where we couldn't go to that were rock, high rocks. I don't know if that's that reason, but I don't think. Yeah, I think that's something you have to consider, though, as he's obviously a smart player, but you have to consider the fact that where would they hide idols? Would it be somewhere this unsafe? I just don't think that they would, right? And I think that's something that he didn't consider, that he probably should have.
Yeah.
They're not going to put your safety at risk for you to find an idol. And if they did, and you found it, and even if you didn't get hurt, that could
you have to get down.
Yeah, and everybody could. And if they did, and he got hurt, can you imagine? They wouldn't put that. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Now, after Matthew made the decision to leave the game, I saw more than a few people on social media who were upset that he wasn't allowed to say goodbye to his tribe mates. But I actually agree with the decision from a game mechanics point of view, which is why we're discussing it here. When he decided to leave, he was out of the game. The minute he decided to leave, he was no longer playing the game. And
Mm-hmm.
people out of the game shouldn't be allowed to pass things along to other players, whether it's
Mm.
information or an idol. And he said if he had been given the chance, he would have passed his idol to Kane if he could do it in private, or to Carson or Lauren to put a target on them if he had to do it in public.
Yeah.
All of these are very good reasons why producers made the right decision to not let him go back. So never let it be said we only criticize the producers. I'm saying that was the right decision there.
Nice job, production.
Yes. So I will say that I also appreciate what Matthew said about his decision to leave at this point, because he said he knows that he could have pushed through the pain, made the jury, used his idol to send someone else to jury, but he didn't want to pull a move just to do it so he could say, aha, look what I did, and
Right.
screw over someone else's game before he knew he was leaving himself. So I applaud him for taking that into consideration.
Yes. Thank you for not doing a move just to do a move.
Yes.
Did he
So-
consider so you're saying he considered giving it away before he decided to like essentially tell them he wanted to leave? Or you're saying like could he do you think he could have potentially given his idol to Kane before and knowing he was going to make that decision and then made that decision?
Yeah, I mean, he could have definitely, before they went to that challenge, he could have given Kane the idol.
But
Mhm.
couldn't he have
But-
done it when they got back? Or did he?
He
tell
didn't
them
get
He didn't go back.
He didn't go
Oh.
back.
Oh,
They
so
all
that
went
was a
back.
challenge.
Right. He stayed, got looked at the doctor,
I
and never
see.
saw them again.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, all right. Well, we can move to Appendix A, which is about the tribe keeping their end goals in mind when voting, and normally, vote out the weak, then the strong, then the weak, then the strong. Obviously, the rest of the tribe did not have any say in the matter here. As for Matthew himself, the only time he had the opportunity to make a decision, he ducked out of the way in order to not make that decision, and in fact keep his end goals in mind by not getting on anyone's bad side while also accomplishing the other things that we talked about him wanting to do.
Mhm.
So if you two don't have anything further in that, it's about time to wrap things up. We'll start with you, Cassidy. What are your final thoughts about Matthew?
I mean, like I've said, I feel like he obviously seemed to be a player with a lot of promise. It's always hard to watch players
Mhm.
go because of medical reasons. I think a lot of the times when people do go out like that, you see all this potential in them, and it really hurts that like something like this could take them out of the game, because you want to be in the game. You want to be taken out because of the game you played or because of the game you didn't play. You don't want it to be because you got hurt or some other outside element. And I think that's something that could potentially haunt you for so long. And I really hope that he's come to terms with it and it doesn't, because he really was playing an amazing game up to that point, as far as I could tell. And I am just kind of bummed. I would also like to ask, like, say like we were actually doing this podcast because this didn't happen and Tika, right, went to tribal. If you wanted to potentially talk about it, like who do you think might have gone home from that, or is that too?
I think it would have been, not to do a Why Josh Lost podcast too soon, but although, well, I won't spoil my predictions, but I think I just spoiled my predictions.
I didn't mean to make you spoil it. I'm curious because I'm like,
I think it was.
I think I agree, but
I think it was obviously Josh. I mean, I think that, and that's one thing, Rob also talked about in one of his podcasts, was because there was no tribal council, and so the producers didn't have to give us all these red herrings and try to fool us and keep us in suspense. They were able to be a little more honest. And I think we saw, I mean, even though Jam Jam was, kind of hedging a little bit, I think there was no way those two were not voting together this time. They were going to get rid of the guy who tried to play the janky tree mail idol, tree mail fake idol on them.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting though what Jeff says about like, because these certain things happen and those three players are still in the game, the entire game does change.
Oh yeah,
it really does. And like that's so interesting to like consider the different dynamics of like what would happen if just one player was not voted out. Like it's a whole domino effect. And
right. Well, I don't know if you watched Australian Survivor at all. Probably not. It's a lot.
I love. Wait, what? No, I'm
you
here to
did?
hype that up. I love
Okay.
Australian Survivor.
I mean,
it's amazing.
imagine.
It's all of what old school Survivor used to be that we loved. There's the auction. There's the family. If my mom had come out, y'all, I would have fucking died. I'm sorry for cussing, but that would have. Oh my God. That would have been my favorite memory of my entire life, seeing my mom come out on the beach and like give me a big hug. So they still have the loved one, and that means like watching that was so sweet, you know.
Mhm.
They have like a lot of different elements that I think were a lot of viewers love about the original Survivor, and I think it's been taken away. And so when I watch Australian Survivor, it gives me that sense of like, oh, this is Survivor, right?
Yes.
And and so yes, I'm a big fan. Love Liz. She was great. I love George. I think he played an incredible game.
And George is who I was going to talk about because, not to give any, big spoilers here, but George drove the action. And he almost got medically evacuated in like the first challenge.
Yeah, it's so true. I was thinking about this. Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking of when you said how it can change. It would have been a completely different season.
Completely different season.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
And like if Australian Survivor had the same rules as regular Survivor, he wouldn't have been allowed back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's and it makes me wonder, like, which do you think is in the right? Like, should people be medically evacuated, or should they be given a little bit of time to be like, what's fair? Because like it almost seems unfair that George got to sit out of that vote, right? Because he would have been gone, but at the same time, it was super interesting to watch how it played out.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they still would have gone after one of his allies, but obviously there's no way to know for that one. But
he was.
But yeah.
But like, if do you think that U.S. Survivor should allow like a certain amount of time out of the game, or is that
not in a
does that disrupt the integrity of the game? Do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But also don't make challenges that are so dangerous that you're going to injure two people.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
he will forever have scars from that, right? All this.
He still has that scar. Yes. Now. Yeah.
He probably wears it like he wears his idol thing. He's like, this was.
Oh, he got another idol tattoo also. So.
Oh, nice. I got to meet him and I got to kiss him on the cheek, and he said, you're like one of the only like 3 or 4 girls that have ever kissed me. And I was like, I'm so honored. It truly was a special moment. So
I forgot about that picture. I did.
I just did. I was like, can I kiss you on the cheek? And he was like, I'm like, yeah. See, yeah. That was like one of my only highlights of watching the finale night.
Yeah.
No, it was a good night. But anyways, what do y'all wrap up? You guys.
All right. So yeah. So Jessica, what are your final thoughts?
Here. My final thoughts, Matthew. I wish I could have talked to you before you went out to play, because I could have told you to stay away from the rocks. They're not helpful. They're really not. I'm so sorry. I wish you hadn't made that choice, because I do think that it would have been a fascinating game to watch you play, considering how much you were accomplishing in the short amount of time we did get to see you out there. So it's unfortunate that we don't have a Matthew in the merge section, and we don't have a Matthew to see potentially in the end. I think you would have continued to do great things, because you really did seem to be so well-rounded and had a true understanding of the game and came at it in a way that people haven't yet. Even though the shot in the dark, again, we don't like it, you figured out a way to make it better, I think. So we appreciate that about you, Matthew. And also, I just have to say, you are a brave, brave man for opting to eat the candy that you found on the island. I was a little taken aback when I read this.
I did not
Some
hear this.
random yellow wrapped lemon candy that he found and ran away and enjoyed every morsel of it. I'm just wondering whose dirty pocket that fell out of. How did it get there? But I guess when you are really hungry and there's a candy in front of you.
Wait, I'm so sorry. This is so random. But can I just tell you a little story?
Yes.
No, never mind. I'll tell you after. I should.
Okay. Did you find a random candy?
No,
she dropped a random
At some point,
candy.
somebody thought I found lipstick on the beach and put it on. And I was like, I had no. I was like, bro, I wish I had lipstick. I love lipstick. No, I don't freaking lipstick. Somebody thought I because my lips looked extra red or something,
You were
that I
probably
had
sunburned.
found lipstick on the ground, and I was like, "You thought I found a washed up tube of lipstick
Oh,
and put that on my lips? You thought they?" I was like, honestly appalled that they think that of me. I mean, look, honestly, maybe I don't blame them. I'm kind of but that's too far,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No.
well, Matthew didn't
Matthew went that. He
hesitate
went there.
to eat that candy. He ate that candy. So,
He not only put
so
it on
he
his
is
lips, he
certainly
put it
a
in his-
brave human being for doing that. So, Matthew,
Maybe that
sad
is
to
what
see
like
you
messed up
go.
his arm. It like made his body just like unable to fight infection. He was like, so sick from the candy that he like could not heal his arm.
Oh gosh, he was very brave.
Oh.
So it is sad that we didn't actually get to do why Matthew lost, but we did get to talk about Matthew. So that was
Yeah.
great. So sorry,
you,
Matthew, that
Matthew.
that's the
Love
way
you.
your game ended, but I'm glad that he is recovered, his shoulder and everything's
Mhm.
great.
Oh,
So excellent for that. So thank you, Matthew, for giving us time to chat about you, just not in the way that we normally do.
good. And Matthew, there is one thing I'll say. As hard as I'm sure it is, I can only like sympathize with how difficult that must have been to like lose the game
Mm-hmm.
that way. You will go down as somebody who like didn't really up. You didn't lose because you effed up. I mean, well, I guess because climbing the rocks, but not anything you really did in the game. Like we all see you as like you did really amazing, and we wish that we could see you play more.
But
And maybe
stop
that's a
climbing
small
rocks.
consolation, but like
Yeah.
future players just don't climb the rocks. Don't.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Especially if you're as like intelligent of a player as Matthew. You're hurting us. It's about us. You're really making us. We don't want to watch it anymore because you're gone. So don't do that. I'm just kidding. But love you, Matthew. Cheers.
All right. Well, as we know, Matthew prepared to be on Survivor for years. This was his time until one little slip changed everything.
Oh,
Even after it happened, he kept playing, kept scheming and plotting, kept pushing himself in the game, and unfortunately, physically as well. It was obviously the latter that got him, because I don't think Matthew was in any danger of being voted out of his tribe, and likely would have been in a good spot headed into the merge as well. As he told Mike Bloom, I really feel I was playing a game that nobody even really knew. No one knew I was doing things behind the scenes. And so I think that I would have made it far into the game. I really, really do. And I really do too. He was doing a good job of scheming while nobody had any thoughts that he was doing too much. He had multiple options. He had a good social game, and he wasn't thought of as a threat. Matthew had everything going for him except one big thing going against him. But that one big thing overpowered everything else and took him out of the game. And that is why Matthew lost.
you really
So-
had to do it again, didn't you?
Well, I mean, that is why Matthew lost. You know, I can't avoid it.
Oh wait, one thing we didn't mention, which I find very absurd, is the title of this episode. I'm shocked that they put that, or is that crazy?
The third
What was the
turd.
Third?
Yeah.
Oh, third turd.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, I don't know, it's funny, but like just like that being a whole title of an episode of
I know.
Survivor is just so
Where did
ridiculous
that
to me.
even come from? I don't even.
Carolyn
remember the
said
name.
that. I don't want to be the third turd.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like I don't know. Anyway, sorry to end that on after that beautiful speech that was Matthew.
Like, by the way, can we talk
third,
about the
Matthew,
third
it's not
turd
you.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right. Well, after that, and before we get to
You're
our
still
predictions,
listening.
yeah,
I'm a real
let me
fan.
remind everyone that the rules we just discussed, you can get as a poster, and
Oh, wait.
there it is. Yes, you could go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed. Scroll down, get to the poster, click it, buy it. Or if you want to wear it, well, not or, and if you want to wear it, you can get it as a t-shirt, or you can get the checklist again, or, and whatever makes you happy. So like I said, go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed.
And I need to jump in here for 2 seconds.
No.
Ginny, you
Oh.
ordered a poster. I sent it to you. It got sent back to me. And I don't know what happened because you put your address into eBay and allowed me to ship it to you. And it says that you don't live there. So I'm going to reach out to you. Just letting you know if you were
I just
listening.
love the personal-
stole my torch and tell him that.
Yeah.
I sent you on accident. Send it back to this address.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
my
love the
husband was like,
personal messages, but the funny thing is, I think the person you sent one to like 1 or 2 ago was like, "Oh my God, I got mentioned." So
I know.
they work. You
So
know,
now
it's fun.
I'm really paying
It's fun.
attention to the names. But this
Yeah.
one, it came back, and my husband's like, "Well, did you write the wrong address?" I said, "No, I actually, it came
Yeah,
right with
well,
the label that was."
sure.
Listen, you
Yeah.
don't go after the shipping department. All right,
Okay, I
I've
won't.
been
Yes,
working
the
very
shipping
diligently at
department is
this.
very important. That's true. That's
Yes.
true.
So, Ginny, we got to figure this out. I
Yes.
don't know what to do.
Okay.
So, anyway.
But as you reach out to Ginny, other people can also find us in different places.
Oh, yes, I am at Jessica Lewis 89, and I hope I did my Twitter handle correct there. I had to add it in today. I know. Cassidy, yes, you can definitely let them know what your Twitter handle is. David is at David Bloomberg. Cassidy, what is yours?
It's at, oh God, Khaleesi. How embarrassing. I used to have all blonde hair, white blondes.
Oh, okay. I can
Khaleesi,
see it.
but it's spelled different. It's Cahleesi. I don't know. I thought it was clever a couple years ago, and then I just never changed it.
It is
And I had
clever.
really blonde hair, and I loved Mother of Dragons. I had like a little dragon tattoo I gave myself. So that was the origin. And I just never changed it. People found me. I'm like, no, it's too late now. So
Oh, well, there you go. So
Yeah.
you should definitely follow us
I should
all.
at
And
Candace. Just
I
kidding.
will say, David Bloomberg is in so many places other than just Twitter. So many places requires his own page that lists all of the places you can follow David Bloomberg at his link tree.
Whoa, Mastodon. What's that?
Oh, don't. It's a Twitter. It's a Twitter alternative.
Oh.
It's the
When
backup
Twitter was
in case-
dying, people
yeah,
were
in case
running
Elon
to
You're gonna need a
blows it all
backup
up.
TikTok. It might get banned.
Yeah, that's what why I started on YouTube and apparently Instagram too. But yeah, so my link tree is linktree/David Bloomberg, except there's a dot before the EE. So linkter.ee, not linkturd. That
I was gonna make that
linktree.
joke if you didn't.
Yes. So luckily you were drinking, so I could make it first. So yeah, and then to make things easier, I did much like Khaleesi, I made the same name for myself on all the video sites. I am David Bloomberg TV, just all one word at TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Look at that. He's just a superstar.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
He's an influencer.
I try.
do.
I don't know how much I influence, but hey,
You influence my life.
clearly-
Now, here I am. Here I
Yeah,
am.
right here we have
And
someone
who's to say how
on
much
the
spoke
show
to you? Could be
currently.
at all. I don't know. And
Mhm.
Jessica, of course. Sorry,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like opposite, so I'm pointing this way, but I'm looking at you, and you're over here.
Yes.
and you're
Yeah,
here.
because
Oh
like,
yeah,
I-
How confusing.
it takes a long
Trust us.
time to get used to it, and
Yeah,
sometimes we aren't.
we
The
tried
both
to
of
do
you-
a high
the both
five
of you-
once, and that was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, can I do
have
it?
to go this
Oh, wait. Hey. Oh, this is so
Hey.
exciting. Jessica, got me up.
We gotta go. I'll go this way. Here we go.
Wait. I can do this.
Here, you ready?
I almost want to.
Come on.
Oh.
All right.
Don't worry, that's fine. We grazed.
Yes.
We grazed.
All
This
right.
was so
Now
much fun.
it
Thank you
is
so much.
time. It is time for predictions.
Oh,
Yes.
damn it.
Forgot about
Um,
this.
I
so
know. I
it's-
hate this part.
Oh, yeah, I don't
yeah.
have any. I'm just gonna make it up on the spot. I think.
Okay. Well, it's
Okay, I love it.
mergatory, and that means anything
Merge.
can happen. Now, we don't know who will be safe, so we're guessing even more than usual. And on top of that, we don't really have a good feel for what the real alliances are like. Like
Yeah.
on Soka, there were two duos that seemed like they were going to work together to get rid of Josh, but would they work together now? What will happen with Rotu now that Matthew is gone without even a vote to vote him out? And what about the shards of Tika? So, I have a few somewhat random thoughts. I think Carson and Kane may stick together and try to bring back Carolyn and Jam Jam. Because Carson, of course, won't initially realize what had happened with Carolyn and Jam Jam. I think Josh will run right back to Soka because he believed he was in perfect position with everyone. But I don't think Soka will need him. Meanwhile, Jamie thought she was in a great position at Ratu and also on Soka. So she'll try to find a landing spot, but probably do a better job of it than Josh.
Mm.
We know that Carolyn now has it in for the muscly bros.
Mm-hmm.
So she might well throw out information about Danny and Brandon and Josh to whoever will listen.
Can't wait.
Yeah. If the
That's
other
what I'm
players
doing.
hear from Carolyn and then, for example, see 2 or 3 of the bros talking, they may glom on to what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Yeah.
it's possible people could see Carolyn as a wild card, which shocking, I know. Maybe even want to get rid of her, but I think if she gets a whiff of it, she'll use her idol. So I actually think she'll be perfectly safe.
Mm-hmm.
If Josh is available and not needed by his former tribe mates as a number, I think he could be an easy consensus boot because he has lied to literally everyone he has met so far.
Yeah.
All they have to do is spread around. He's actually a surgeon. He tried this janky idol. He, lie. I keep predicting Josh. Like my fantasy draft literally has Josh every time. Now you get to pick 3.
I feel that, yeah.
Yeah, Josh, every time I have picked him. Hasn't happened yet. I really feel like this is the time. We've seen all his bad lies. We saw his backstory. We saw him having the heartfelt discussion with Jam Jam. I think his story arc is done.
Can I ask you a question? Did you ever think that about me ever in the season? You're like, she's done.
Did I? I think there was, there was one episode where I remember saying, I don't know if I predicted you, but I remember like posting on social media or something saying, "Ooh, I think that's it."
There was like,
I
was anyways, I was just curious.
Yeah, I think
I do have one more question though about this what we're actually supposed to be talking about, not me. Sorry. This is kind of besides the point, but you mentioned Jamie's idol, right? Or her idols?
Her.
She's 2, allegedly. What happens if she plays the fake one? Does she get the chance to play her real one?
Well, it doesn't matter. Her real one's dead at Murgatory.
Oh, that's right.
So now she has essentially 2 fake idols.
Damn. Okay. Fair enough.
So she could take the one that she knows to be dead, essentially,
Yes.
and plant it and try to mess with
and
someone
else. And I think she has this other one this whole time.
Right.
Yes. Or she could do what Josh is doing and play one, or think that she's going to play one and then pretend to have the other one, but then she's going to play the fake, and it's going to be like, no, that's not real. And she's going to be like,
back at production, like, what the? If you literally put me in this position, I would be so upset if I was her. Like,
yeah.
Well, no, but hers was made by.
Oh, Matthew. That's right. Sorry, but the other one still the point still stays the same.
Yes, the Matt one, and
that's fair. That one's fair. I wouldn't hold it against Matthew. As much.
Only the Matt one is. So the only official fake one that was given to someone is the one that Matt has.
But Carolyn still has hers.
Carolyn gave it to Sarah and then voted Sarah out.
No, but but she has her real one.
Yeah, she has her real one.
Damn. Okay.
See, this is why. So in
I'm
discussing,
not keeping up the same way.
I forgot. I was worried about Carolyn this episode, and then like midway through the episode, I'm like, oh, she still has an idol.
Yeah, and she hasn't told anybody that she has an idol.
Right.
Amen.
Shocking.
Right.
Amen.
So I know that they put it in the lower third, but I never look at the lower third. So. What I've decided they need, I was talking to a couple different people about this. We need like on CNBC, there's like a stock ticker. So you need all these tickers going through, like here's who have idols and here's who have fake idols and here's who have advantages.
A lot to keep up with, man.
Yeah.
Or let's just not have so many idols and advantages.
Even a better idea.
Crazy.
There's your solution. So now that you have,
as an artist, sometimes when you keep putting stuff on the painting, it just fucks it up, and you keep trying to make it better, and you just keep fucking it up more. And so at one point, you just gotta stop and say, "Damn, I screwed this. I gotta start over." And it kind of feels like maybe that's what.
So maybe that's what Survivor. They have screwed.
I'm not saying, but I don't know. That's just as an artist perspective, that happens a lot, and you really get so invested in something you've built for this long. and then you keep messing it up, and then you don't know what to do, and then you keep. And sometimes it's okay to like take a step back and kind of return to your roots of what the original painting that you wanted to start looked like, and work from there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Love Survivor, love the show, love everything about it. So grateful to play. I'm not saying any of that. It's just I don't know.
I love
You got to have somebody else.
Cassidy say like, because I've become more vocal about my dislike of certain things regarding CBS production.
I'm totally sucking up. I know.
Eventually, you'll feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Right now, you still feel like they own you.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of do.
But yes, but you know, it is a difficult.
I'm happy to be owned by them, though. To be honest,
Yeah.
like, own me, please, shackle me. As long as I get to play Survivor, it's sad, but like I did love that show that much. It's like also, I feel like I was selling my soul. I'm writing the contract, but I'm like, I'm happy to do it.
Yes.
That's how much I love the game. Yeah, sad, right?
Yes,
that's what Survivor is like.
We all did it.
That's cool. We love it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all did it. We all
We're
signed
all
that
in
contract.
it. We're
Now
still in it. Here we are.
So, Jessica, what are your predictions?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was thinking Josh, and I'm not just saying that because like there was something, and I don't know why, like something in my gut was like thinking Lauren, but I don't really have a good reason to be getting that feeling. But I do think that that whole episode, obviously they called it the third turd for a reason, right? We were talking about how that name came to be. So the bro component has to come back. And I think that that's what we're going to see. And they completely threw Josh under. Why was that significant? Why did they even have to bring that up? So I feel like it's a necessary part of the story. So I think that, yes, Josh is going to find himself in a situation he does not want to be in, but they're going to associate him with the bros, and he's lied to everyone. So I feel like that will be an easy vote for people to make.
Very true. And he also doesn't have a tribe to back him up or like want it, because they were going to vote him out anyway. So it's easier. It might be easier for them to just hop on board with that, because they wanted to get him out anyways. He doesn't have people want to like save him in the games.
Right. He's not going to have anyone like that's fighting for him.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point in the game, it's anyone but me. So if there's a reason,
it really is. It's a very scary time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cassidy, do you agree with the Josh prediction?
I think I do. Unfortunately, as much as I like him, I think that to me that seems. I mean, you never know in the game. Things can go.
Oh yeah.
Can flip on a dime. Like
I mean, he could end up in the safe half, and then what happens?
Yeah, that's so true. I forgot about that. Like if you're gonna have half.
God damn it! That's
continue the trend. They continue the trend of that, then who knows? You know, it could be anything. But I think the most likely prediction right now would be that. But there's never any telling, because Survivor.
I forgot about the safe half thing. That they
that must have been nice. They not only did they get to be safe, they got to feast too. At least 41 had one or the other. I lost both. I was devastated. That was tough. I hope they at least get one or the other, man. But
they won't. Yeah. All right. Well, as we wrap up here, I want to encourage people to check out the RHAP patron program at robhasawebsite.com/patron. You can get access to all the special podcasts that are put out just for patrons. I don't know. Do we know anybody here who's a patron?
Me.
Oh, look at that.
I don't even look at it anymore, but I still give him $5 a month, because I'm like, I love you.
So yes, we knew that there were a couple patrons. It was public knowledge that there were a couple patrons on your season, but now on the Know-It-Alls, James mentioned that he was a patron, and
we're supporting this entire establishment.
That's right.
Even understand.
So look at how many patrons get on Survivor.
Yes. So this is
such a good selling point. Keep going.
I mean, really, it is.
That's advertising you need.
Yeah. So go to robhasawebsite.com/patron. And if that isn't enough of a selling point, you help support this show and all the others by doing so. Also, make sure you're subscribed to all the reality TV RHAP-ups by going to robhasawebsite.com/RHAP-ups feed and selecting your podcast service of choice. You find us, the B&B, Stockwatch, Survivor International, also podcasts on a number of different other topics. Now, speaking of different topics, I will promote myself for a minute here. which I know I never do. But luckily, at the beginning of the podcast, we had Cassidy to do that for me.
She did a
I
great
will do it
job.
again. I have a speech plan at the end.
Oh, wow. So I mentioned last week I would be on an episode of the Truth Unrestricted podcast with Spencer Watson, and that episode came out right after. We discussed certain types of paradoxes and the Streisand effect and some other related things. So that's on there. Again, that's not a Survivor podcast, obviously. I also recorded another episode of the Tradar podcast where I was a guest to discuss the finale of The Traders UK, which gave us a lot of great stuff to talk about, compare and contrast to other reality television, to the finale of The Traders US, all of those things. So that should be out very soon as well.
Where are we at? Am I thanking people now?
Well,
or are
I
we
don't know.
doing
Cassidy said she has a
Cassidy
speech.
said
So
she has a speech.
Okay. I just want to say it's not really a speech. I'm actually terrible at speeches. I just want to say that if you're a player, I don't know if you'd be listening if you're not listening, but if you are a future player and you are listening, and if you somehow find this and you weren't listening before, you should, because this podcast gave me so much good information going into the game. I seriously ate this up like candy. I really value their opinions. It's important to not only study good players, you got to study the players that lost too. You have to study everything when you're going into the game and try to have as much of a just broad perspective as you can. And that's why I love this element of the podcast, because you really get to understand the mistakes people made. And it's so important because you make one mistake in the game, it's fatal. I mean, it really can be, not always, but it can be. So you really have to try to avoid as many mistakes as you can. And so it's important to study the mistakes that people have made going forward. And that's one of the many reasons why I love this podcast so much. But I think it really is such good information. And I hope that future players take this seriously and sorry. And and anyways, and then it's hilarious. It's funny. What's not to love. And yeah, so thank you guys for having me. And I'm sorry, I know this is we're 2 hours and 10 minutes in. If you're still listening,
well, this is great.
Real one.
Yeah.
And I'm so thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm so happy to be here.
Listen,
maybe you can be like
you.
me. You listen to them, you love them, you talk about them, you do good, you end up on the podcast.
See, it's full circle. So this is the theme of this podcast is
I'm setting a precedent right now.
Yes, I love this. Well, Cassidy, that was incredibly kind. And David created all of this, and now we are all just living in David's world, I guess. So
basking in David's beautiful summer.
That's right.
Oh.
So David's world, we just live in it. So thank you so much, Cassidy, for all of that kindness. And David, thank you for allowing me to be part of this world that you have created, that Cassidy became a huge fan of. And hopefully people will heed her advice and will actually go out and listen and study and then get on the show, and maybe production will listen to us too. Yes. Who knows? I don't know. That would be crazy.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Yes. And also thank you to Scott St. Pierre for all of the editing that he does, not only for the Why Blank Lost podcast, but all of the podcasts on the RHAP website. Thank you, Scott. You work through the night tirelessly. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And also thank you to Will from America for the theme song that he created for the Why Blank Lost podcast. It's super catchy. Love it. Thank you very much for that. And David Bloomberg, thank you. Cassidy, thank you. David, I'm sure you want to say some thank yous as well, but this was super fun and incredible. It's been great chatting with you, Cassidy, and joining us on our discussion of Matthew today.
Thank you so much. Can I say one thing really quick before we go?
Sure.
Yeah. Please edit out any stupid shit that I said. Thank you.
No, we don't edit this. This is put out as live.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did I forget to tell you that part?
This is me.
There's no editing.
No, that's okay. I knew there wasn't, but
yeah, I know.
I had to hope.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you both. I kind of feel like that meme. The little kid. Oh, shucks. So thank you both. Thank you, Cassidy, for joining us and for all your very kind words. You too, Jessica. And we will be back next week. Might have another guest, might not. We'll have to see. You started the trend this season, yes. And
I shouldn't be jealous, but
it's going to be Tiffany to come back out. No, it's actually not.
She's going here and say something about what I said about taking her spot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just have a feeling like scared of war, and I'm scared. I'm so
Yeah.
scared.
No, she's gonna love you.
Yes.
I love her. I love you,
Yeah.
Tiffany.
So, all right, we will be back again next week. Same Why Blank Lost time, same Why Blank Lost channel. We will see you then. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.